Chapter 567. He didn't know how long it would take for the heavenly laws to recover. By then, the heavenly laws might not be able to tolerate him. It was highly possible that the heavenly laws would kill him. Or he might be so powerful that the heavenly laws would be wary of him and go their separate ways. Jiang Changkong believed that he would be the final winner of this race. The heavenly laws couldn't compare to his ability to level up. After half a day, Lu Xianfeng finished setting up the array and asked Jiang Changkong to pour his chaotic divine energy into it. Jiang Changkong poured his chaos divine energy into the formation. Together with his Xiantian spiritual energy, they all gushed into the Bamboo King. Jiang Changkong's foundation was strong, but couldn't withstand the Bamboo King's absorption. In less than an hour, the energy in his body was almost depleted. Fortunately, there was still a lot of energy left in the immortal pill left by the old lord. Jiang Changkong continued to pour his chaotic divine energy into the Bamboo King. In the end, he swallowed another pill. Buzz! The law of chaos in his body vibrated, and a wisp of the law of chaos entered the Bamboo King. What was that? Lu Xianfeng was taken aback. Rumble! The space within 100 feet shook, and the green bamboo swayed as connate spirit energy surged over. The dense connate spirit energy formed a huge vortex above the Bamboo King. Lu Xuanfeng's face was filled with shock. The heavenly god's technique can draw the connate spiritual energy here. It's an accident. I just wanted to help a little more, Jiang Changkong said. Buzz! The Bamboo King swayed, and a gust of wind blew. Rays of golden light appeared under Jiang Changkong's feet. This is... Jiang Changkong was puzzled. Connate spirit stones, Lu Xianfeng said excitedly. There are connate spirit stones here. Essence, energy, and spirit. Plus 100, plus 400, plus 1,000. The rays of golden light were connate spirit stones. Some were similar to 4th grade immortal stones, while others were comparable to 5th grade immortal stones. I've underestimated the Bamboo King. Looks like it's not just instinct. It actually knows how to be grateful. Lu Xianfeng bowed to the Bamboo King and carefully hung a jade token on it. If you can transform, take this token and go to the Zhen Yuan celestial sect. After that, Lu Xianfeng and Jiang Changkong dug up the connate spirit stones together. Jiang Ziyu and Zhang Xian also came back, chopping a dozen or so bamboos. With the help of the other two, the 4 of them were able to dig out the innate spirit stone very quickly. There were not many of them, only 53 in total. 1 rank, 5, and 6 peak rank, 4. As for the rest, Jiang Changkong did not pay much attention to them. They were divided among the 3 of them. These things are not bad, I guess. Jiang Changkong put away the 7 spirit stones, not caring much about them. Essence, chi, and spirit were no different from immortal stones. Heavenly God, you should know how precious innate spiritual energy is. These innate spirit stones can be considered precious treasures. There are only a few of them in the immortal world, but they are definitely rare. Lu Xianfeng kept it carefully. No matter how rare it is still useless to me. It is not even as useful as 100 immortal stones. Jiang Changkong said. Lu Xianfeng immediately said, then it's a deal. I'll contact the sect once we leave this place, and you can sell it to me for 100 immortal stones. Jiang Changkong, 100 is a little too little. Give me more. The 4 of them divided the bamboos, for each. After that, Lu Xianfeng set up another formation, and the golden skull appeared again, swallowing them. The 4 of them returned to the cave, and the skull returned to its original state. All right, the matter is settled. We can leave now, Lu Xianfeng said as he stretched. Not yet. There is still an immortal lord, Jiang Changkong said indifferently. The heavenly god wants to take down that mid-stage immortal lord. Lu Xuanfeng's expression changed. Yes, the fiend has a way to contact him. I can send a message. Jiang Changkong said indifferently. You can hide first. Lend me your disc again. Mid-stage immortal lord? How confident are you? The 3 asked. 100%, Jiang Changkong said confidently. His combat power was not weak, and he also had the 5 forms of split the heavens. He already had more than 3 million spirit stones. How could he let go of a sinful, immortal lord? The 3 of them stopped persuading him. Lu Xianfeng handed the disc to him. Jiang Changkong sent a message to the immortal lord and received a reply very quickly. Half a day passed. All that was left was to wait patiently. Jiang Changkong sent them to Golden Water Town and waited in the cave abode. Jiang Changkong transformed into a fiend and restored the cave to its original state. Time passed bit by bit. Half a day passed quickly. The Heavenly River Navy arrived at Golden Water Town. The middle-aged man in the lead had an unfathomable aura. All of you scram. The Heavenly River Navy walked on the streets like crabs. All the townspeople fled back into their houses in fear. The 10-man team was all heaven immortals. They surrounded the middle-aged man and headed for Golden Water River. When they arrived at the Golden Water River, the middle-aged immortal lord frowned slightly. The space here has decreased a little. Fortunately, the route hasn't changed. The middle-aged immortal lord quickly traversed through space with the 10 Heavenly River Navy soldiers. Half an hour later, they walked out of space and arrived at the cave abode. Can't you arrange the shortest route for us to come here directly? The middle-aged immortal lord entered the cave abode with some dissatisfaction. Jiang Changkong did not say anything and continued to sit cross-legged. The middle-aged immortal lord walked over and said calmly, "Why did you refine it so quickly this time? We haven't even gathered all the materials." Because Jiang Changkong opened his mouth gently and slapped toward the middle-aged immortal lord. The heavenly eye on his glabella suddenly opened. The middle-aged immortal lord's expression changed. In a hurry, he could only use his immortal power to block. Boom! The chaotic palm landed, and the middle-aged immortal lord was sent flying while vomiting blood. The immortal blood collapsed the space in the void and shook the cave abode. The 10 heaven immortal soldiers turned into ashes before they could even scream. The chaotic heavenly eye shone and pierced through the immortal lord's body. Bang! The middle-aged immortal lord did not fly out of the cave abode. He crashed into the hard green light and bounced back. Who are you? The middle-aged immortal lord stood up and looked at the person in front of him with a dark expression. A long sword appeared in his hand. Heavenly God of Justice, Jiang Changkong. Jiang Changkong's expression changed. As for you, your strength is really not bad. You didn't get killed by the heavenly eye. What a heavenly God of justice. I didn't kill you, but you dared to scheme against me. The middle-aged immortal lord said coldly. Vast immortal Tao laws surged out, and the circular space trembled slightly. Take my heaven-splitting art. Jiang Changkong raised his right palm, and the chaotic laws in his body manifested boundless primordial chaos. Green light surged into the chaotic laws and merged with the boundless primordial chaos, turning into a mysterious light. The entire circular space turned into dark primordial chaos. The mysterious light was like the first ray of light in the world, tearing through the primordial chaos, bringing hope and destruction. The move of heaven splitting earth was like an ancient existence waving a giant axe and destroying everything. The middle-aged immortal lord was horrified. The person in front of him was like a chaotic giant with a boundless divine body that tore through the primordial chaos. The immortal Tao laws dimmed in front of him. The immortal power in his body was extremely weak compared to the chaotic divine power. It was as if it had met its nemesis. The heaven-splitting giant was a supreme existence. At this moment, the immortal lord gave up struggling. The immortal Tao laws bowed their heads. Buzz. The move of heaven-splitting art slashed out. The divine sword turned into ashes, and the body disappeared. Chapter 568. The disk space couldn't withstand it, and cracks started to appear. Fortunately, Jiang Changkong retracted his power in time and didn't damage the disk. If he used the sky-splitting art, the disk treasure would probably be destroyed. 50,000 heavenly powers and the immortal lord's essence, energy, and spirit. Jiang Changkong didn't forget to search the immortal lord's soul. There were many immortal stones in the Immortal Lord's spatial equipment. This guy also guarded a 4th grade mine, and because he worked with the fiends, he killed many immortals and was extremely rich. He opened the spatial treasure, and pieces of immortal stones appeared. 4th grade immortal stones, 500 mid-grade, 300 high-grade, and 100 top-grade. 5th grade immortal stones, 50 low-grade, and 6 mid-grade. 292,000. Including the heavenly powers, it broke through 340,000. The 10 Sky Immortal Navy was only a fraction. He was less than 20,000 away from 2,700,000 essence, energy, and spirit points. Jiang Changkong thought for a moment, and his chaotic divine power exploded, destroying the cave and burying the immortal emperor's head. Jiang Changkong didn't destroy the space outside. After destroying the Sky River Navy, the people of Golden Water Town would probably have to move. He left the Golden Water River and found the 3 of them. Heavenly God, the 3 of them were overjoyed to see him. They were worried about Jiang Changkong's safety. It's settled. We're leaving. Think of a way to move the Golden Water Town so that the Sky River Celestial Kingdom won't take it out on them, Jiang Changkong said. Don't worry, I'll leave a mark. The Sky River Celestial Kingdom shouldn't dare to make things difficult for them, Lu Xianfeng said. Jiang Changkong nodded. The Zhen Yuan Celestial Sect was famous and should be able to shake the Sky River Celestial Kingdom. Then I'll go break the seal first. Jiang Changkong flew into the air, and his chaotic divine power surged into the sky. Sky-splitting art. The mysterious light appeared again, and everywhere it passed, the hidden space was destroyed. Without the fiend's reinforcement, the space was extremely fragile. The seal covering the Golden Water Town was broken. The hidden space above the Golden Water River was a bit troublesome. However, it shouldn't be a problem to fight a way out. Lu Xianfeng and the other 2 set up everything and flew into the air. Let's go. Jiang Changkong led them across the Golden Water River. His chaos divine power morphed into a divine dragon and swept across the river. The hidden space was constantly being destroyed, and the sound of muffled thunder rang in the air, attracting the attention of the people of Golden Water Town. There were also some immortals who flew out of Goldwater Town and left this place. Just like Lu Xianfeng, they had mistakenly entered this place and were trapped until now. Half an hour later, Jiang Changkong led them across the Golden Water River. This fiend demon is truly powerful. He actually managed to set up so many spaces, Jiang Changkong said. With his current strength, he could traverse thousands of miles in half an hour. However, he had only crossed the Golden Water River. Since this fiend demon is building a nest here, it's only natural for it to be safer. Jiang Ziyu said, unfortunately, he encountered a heavenly god, so he deserved to suffer this calamity. Jiang Changkong descended from the sky and said, Lu Xianfeng, I still have to send them to the great wilderness. Why don't we part ways here? Let's go together. I'm also wandering around without a fixed place to stay, Lu Xianfeng said. Besides, I want to buy your immortal stones. This. Jiang Ziyu and Lu Xianfeng hesitated. Is there a problem? Although I'm not strong enough, I have some tricks up my sleeves, Lu Xianfeng said hurriedly. Jiang Changkong thought for a while and said, since that's the case, let's go together. Lu Xianfeng had many tricks up his sleeves. Being from the Zhen Yuan Immortal Sect, he knew many secrets. He might even be of use in the Yazi Dao ground. Seeing that he agreed, Jiang Ziyu and Lu Xianfeng didn't say anything else. Jiang Changkong led them away on a cloud. Do you know if there are any fiends nearby? I'll kill them all. He was only 20,000 away from breaking through, which meant that there were only 2 immortals. He couldn't wait to kill the 2 immortals and fiends. I remember there's a peak immortal fiend that eats living beings that pass by. I wonder if it's still there, Lu Xianfeng said. Let's go and see. Jiang Changkong sped up and arrived at the place Lu Xianfeng mentioned in a few minutes. He slowed down. Jiang Changkong looked like an early-stage immortal, while the 3 were late-stage immortals. If that fiend was still there, he would definitely attack. After flying for a while, a gust of evil wind blew towards Jiang Changkong. Looks like it's still here, Lu Xianfeng said. Jiang Changkong smiled, and opened his heavenly eye. Great divine light shone on the evil wind. Ark! A shrill scream sounded, and a weasel appeared in the evil wind. Great immortal, please spare me. Please spare me. The demon's body cracked, and drops of demon blood turned into ashes. You deserve death, Jiang Chongkong said coldly. The weasel dissipated immediately. Lu Xinfeng sighed. What a waste. This can be made into a top-tier, fourth-grade immortal artifact. Jiang Chongkong didn't answer. After all, he still had 440 essence, energy, and spirit, although it wasn't as much as the power of heaven. Let's go to his cave abode. Jiang Chongkong brought them to the weasel's cave abode. The weasel killed immortals that passed by here, including immortals. There were still some immortal stones in his cave abode. In the cave abode, apart from immortal stones, there were some immortal artifacts. He didn't care about the immortal artifacts, so he threw them to the three of them. All the immortal stones belonged to him. There were no top-tier fourth-grade ones, only 26 high-grade ones and 63 mid-grade ones. 20400 essence, energy, and spirit. That was enough for him to break through. Thinking of this, Jiang Chongkong said, I suddenly had an epiphany and will enter seclusion here. Wait outside. Okay. The three of them nodded and left. Jiang Chongkong used chaos divine power to seal the cave and began to improve. First, he perfected the fourth revolution mystic art. Then his two martial arts and chaotic Tao body leveled up at the same time. Boom! There was an explosion in Jiang Chongkong's mind. The chaos laws transformed and the green light fused into the laws. The sun laws released terrifying heat and the entire cave began to melt. A noble aura emanated from the chaos laws and the sun laws. Jiang Chongkong saw boundless laws bowing down before the primal chaos and the laws of the sun. Thousands of laws. I am the Lord. This was the immortal Lord, the Lord of the immortal Tao. Below the immortal Lord, all laws submitted. A unique suppressive force spread out. If a deity was here, they could only prostrate themselves. At the immortal Lord realm, the 5 styles of splitting the heavens appeared in Jiang Chongkong's mind again. Before breaking through the chaos and creating a new world, everything seemed weak. Only that supreme, immeasurable, and eternal existence could be considered truly invincible. The witch race's 5 styles of splitting the heavens was derived from Pangu. It was very compatible with his mystic art. The green light and laws fused as one. Everything in his body condensed into one. This was the strongest state. A noble aura spread out naturally. The Lord that walked between heaven and earth ruled over the changes of laws. The weak lived. Jiang Chongkong finally understood that the immortal Lord realm could expel the opponent's laws and suppress them. The prerequisite was that the opponent was much weaker than him. His fourth revolution mystic art and chaotic Tao body were too powerful. The suppression of an immortal Lord was useless against him. That was why he didn't feel anything. The transformation continued. Jiang Chongkong tried his best to retract his power, but there was still some power that dissipated, causing the cave walls to dissipate and the space to expand. Lu Xinfeng and the other two did not go far. Even though he was suppressing his power, they could still feel the unique divine aura of an immortal Lord. That pressure, which was above that of an immortal, made their hearts heavy. The heavenly justice God had become an immortal Lord. Chapter 569. The boundless chaos returned to his body. The laws of the sun were also restrained. The azure light in his body nourished the laws of chaos. Jiang Chongkong did not rush out of seclusion. He began to stabilize his cultivation. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. The cave was no longer recognizable. Jiang Chongkong opened his eyes and looked at his data. Jiang Chongkong, early stage immortal Lord, divine Lord, 5th revolution mystic art, basic, 1/300,000 acquired chaotic Tao body, basic, 1/300,000 golden crow immortal sutra, basic, 1/37500 essence, energy, spirit, 1751. The chaotic divine power surged in his body like a surging river. The heavenly eye on his forehead shone with a great divine light, and its power increased. The chaotic divine power that sealed the cave dissipated. Jiang Changkong stepped out of the cave. Congratulations, Heavenly God. You've reached the early stage Divine Lord? The three of them were dumbfounded. Wasn't he already an immortal lord? Although he could kill immortal lords before, they did not feel the unique aura of an immortal lord from Jiang Changkong. They felt it in the past few days. Who knew that he would still be an early stage Divine Lord? Was this a hidden technique? Yes, I made some progress. I've reached the immortal lord level. As for my cultivation level, I've hidden it, Jiang Changkong said with a faint smile. The three heavenly gods were disgusted. This heavenly god of justice is too much. You're already so strong. What's the point of pretending to be weak? Let's go. Jiang Changkong swept them up with his chaotic divine power and left quickly. After breaking through to the high immortal realm, Jiang Changkong's speed increased by more than 10 times. He was much faster than any mid-stage immortal lord. Immortal lord, the mark of the Golden Water Town has been activated, Lu Xianfeng said. Someone from the Sky River, Celestial Kingdom? Jiang Changkong asked. Yes, we already know that it was you who killed the evil demon and the mid-stage immortal lord from the Sky River, Celestial Kingdom, Lu Xianfeng said. I protected the Golden Water Town. The other party is Heavenly Water, Celestial Lord. It's him, Jiang Ziyu and Lu Xianfeng exclaimed. Is Tianshui Deity Lord very powerful? Asked Jiang Changkong. Jiang Ziyu said, in the Tianhe Celestial Kingdom, there are 4 peak immortal lords who are conferred the title of the 4 marshals. The Tianshui Immortal Lord is one of them. 4 marshals of the Divine River? Jiang Changkong sneered and sneered. You're not thinking of a way to destroy the evil demon, but you're coming to deal with me, the heavenly god of justice. This is the current immortal world. Without the heavenly Tao, there are no more restrictions. Lu Xianfeng sighed. You like the appearance of the heavenly axiom? You even reminded me not to rely too much on the power of heaven, said Jiang Changkong. Lu Xianfeng sighed. There are pros and cons to the heavenly Tao. It all depends on how you put it. Experts and geniuses hate the heavenly Tao. To me, it's fine as long as I don't hold a position in the heavenly court. If the heavenly Tao appears and the world is at peace, I will cultivate in seclusion. Once the heavenly Tao fully recovered, it would take complete control of the world of immortals. A new celestial emperor was chosen to unify the world of immortals. At that time, good and evil would be clearly distinguished. Even if the heavenly god of justice didn't appear, the evildoers would still suffer a tribulation. For some immortals, be it humans or monsters, as long as they broke through, they would face a lightning tribulation. With the existence of the heavenly Tao, ordinary immortals won't be able to live forever. When the 3 calamities appear, if they can avoid it, they can live for another 500 years. If they can't, they will die. As for mighty figures, their cultivation will also be restricted. Celestial emperors and celestial sovereigns will find it difficult to advance further. Lu Xianfeng explained. He knew a lot about the heavenly court and the Zhen Yuan celestial sect. This was also why the celestial arch was rejected when he invited the Zhen Yuan celestial sect patriarch to join the heavenly court. They knew that entering the heavenly court was equivalent to cutting off their future. They would have to depend on the celestial arch. Back then, the Earth immortal ancestor, Zhen Yuanzi, was a Khanate great divine power. He lived in seclusion in the 5-village temple and played by himself. The Zhen Yuan celestial sect had always inherited this. Only when the heavenly Tao disappeared did they come out to slay evil and roam the celestial world. If the heavenly Tao returned, they would close their sect and focus on cultivation. How much do you know about the sage realm? Jiang Changkong asked. In his memory, the chances of becoming a sage were slim. Jiang Changkong wasn't worried about himself. He was only worried about others who had reached the Tao realm. Everyone below the sage realm was an ant. This wasn't a joke. There are 2 types of sages in the sect. One is the primordial chaos sage, and the other is the heavenly Tao sage. The primordial chaos sage can roam the chaos and is eternal. The heavenly Tao sage relies on the heavenly Tao. As long as the heavenly Tao doesn't die, the sage will never die. Lu Xianfeng explained. Jiang Changkong nodded and gestured for him to continue. Jiang Ziyu and Lu Xianfeng didn't dare to interrupt. They had never come into contact with such secrets before. The primordial chaos sage relied on their own strength to become sage. The heavenly Tao sage obtained the recognition of the heavenly Tao. Their divine soul was entrusted to the heavenly Tao, and they had an indestructible body. The strength of the two types of sages depended on how they were compared. In the territory ruled by the heavenly Tao, the strength of the heavenly Tao sage would usually be stronger than the primordial chaos sage. But without the support of the heavenly Tao, the primordial chaos sage could defeat the heavenly Tao sage. If they wanted to develop in the celestial world, the heavenly Tao sage would be the best. If they wanted to leave the celestial world and roam the chaos, the primordial chaos sage would be the best. No matter which type of sage it was, ordinary immortals couldn't reach it. At the end, Lu Xianfeng said, "If the heavenly God of justice can revive the heavenly Tao, he should be able to become an immortal lord or at least an immortal emperor." Jiang Ziyu and Lu Xuanfeng's eyes turned red with envy. They had just seen the head of an immortal emperor. Just the pressure of a head wasn't something that immortals could withstand. It showed how powerful an immortal emperor was. Immortal emperor? Immortal lord? It seems like the heavenly Tao is unwilling to give me a sage position, Jiang Changkong said calmly. The sage position is usually reserved for the heavenly emperor, Lu Xianfeng said. Jiang Changkong sighed. He had expected this, but he didn't expect the heavenly Tao to give him a sage position. After talking for so long, Jiang Changkong finally asked something he was concerned about. "Do you know when the heavenly Tao will revive?" Lu Xianfeng thought deeply. "I don't know the exact details. There are only some records in the sect." "Please tell me." Jiang Changkong cupped his fists and said solemnly, "When all the heavenly Tao fragments are revived and all living beings in the celestial world listen to the voice of the Tao," Lu Xianfeng thought deeply. "At that time, the heavenly Tao will truly return." Jiang Changkong frowned. "There is no need. How about the heavenly court and celestial court fight it out?" Lu Xianfeng whispered, "Is there a need? This is the return of the heavenly Tao, not the heavenly emperor." Jiang Changkong fell silent. The return of the heavenly Tao didn't seem to have much to do with the heavenly emperor. As long as the heavenly Tao fully revived, it would merge. The heavenly court, celestial court, and even the monster court would fight however they wanted to. The heavenly Tao was always high above and watched over this situation. Jiang Changkong fell silent. Jiang Ziyu and Jiang Zifen pulled Lu Xianfeng aside and asked. Of course, they were asking about the power of heaven and how to obtain the recognition of the heavenly Tao. Not to mention becoming a sage, they would be satisfied if they could become an immortal king in the future. During the conversation, the two of them also asked about Lu Xuanfeng's specific identity. After learning that he was a disciple of the Zhenyuan celestial sect, they became much more reserved. Heavenly God of justice, sometimes there is no need to be too anxious. Let nature take its course. Since the heavenly Tao has revived, its return is already unstoppable. Lu Xianfeng comforted, "Heavenly God of justice, just wait patiently. The heavenly Tao will not mistreat you just based on your performance during this period." Chapter 570. Lu Xianfeng thought that Jiang Changkong was really loyal to the heavenly Tao. He was comforted when he thought of the unfair treatment he had suffered in the heavenly court. Jiang Changkong wished that the heavenly Tao would return later. He would want the heavenly Tao to fully recover. Previously, he thought that the heavenly Tao would only return after these factions fought. Now, it didn't seem to be the case. No wonder the moon god left a message. If there was nowhere else to go to the underworld and become one with the heavenly Tao. However, to become one with the heavenly Tao, one had to be a peak immortal venerable. Even the heavenly Tao looked down on late-stage, immortal venerables. Jiang Changkong sped up, hoping that the Yazi Dao ground could bring him some benefits. Buzz! A dark light suddenly came from below, and a giant mouth appeared in the sky. The giant mouth was 100 feet tall and had sharp fangs. It was suffused with the aura of loss. "You're courting death." Jiang Changkong's heavenly eye opened, and a beam of light enveloped the giant mouth. Buzz! Under the gray divine light, the giant mouth rapidly shrank and turned into a colorful tiger. Its body stiffened and turned into ashes in fear. It was a peak immortal tiger demon. 10,000 heavenly powers were released. His essence, energy, and spirit were still at 10,000. If there was another immortal, demon, or immortal, his Golden Crow Immortal Sutra would be able to reach lesser mastery. This is the disadvantage of the heavenly Tao not existing. The demons are fearless and can do whatever they want. Lu Xianfeng said. Jiang Zifen nodded. If the heavenly Tao exists, we wouldn't have been captured to be minors. You will hate the heavenly Tao in the future. Lu Xianfeng shook his head. That's in the future. The two of them didn't think much of it. They were only late-stage immortals. Under normal circumstances, they could do whatever they wanted, but that was only in the Great Wilderness Celestial Kingdom. Once they left the Great Wilderness Celestial Kingdom, who would recognize them? Not long ago, they were rescued by Jiang Changkong from the mine. Jiang Changkong understood Lu Xuanfeng's words. What was the point of not being able to advance for billions of years? By then, the immortals would probably go crazy. Since you want to obtain the recognition of heaven's power, then, after returning to the Great Wilderness, develop well. Lu Xianfeng advised, it's useless now. When a heavenly Tao returns, the rewards and punishments will be decided. Who knows, there might even be mortals who become immortals. The two of them hurriedly nodded and humbly asked for advice. At the same time, they did not forget to look carefully at Jiang Changkong. Jiang Changkong was the heavenly justice god, and their actions were simply stealing his business. You don't need to look at this deity. This deity is enforcing the law on behalf of the heavens. This deity will support it. Jiang Changkong said. The two heaved a sigh of relief. Lu Xianfeng chuckled and started explaining to them what to do in the future. Jiang Changkong checked the direction and hurried on with all his might. This time, he didn't encounter any demons that were blind. Half an hour later, they could already see the area where the Yazi dojo was located. Jiang Changkong soared through the air and brought him to their destination. The mountain wall was smooth and flat. This is the place, Jiang Changkong said. Heavenly God, Brother Lu, step back first. Jiang Ziyu and Lu Xianfeng took a step forward, and the power of laws surged out. Their immortal powers spread out and searched for the location. Jiang Changkong stood together with Lu Xianfeng and said calmly, You have accumulated a lot of merits by slaying demons now. When the heavenly Tao returns, your strength will also improve greatly. I don't know how to use the power of heaven to improve my cultivation level, but I can refine artifacts, Lu Xianfeng said calmly. Jiang Changkong looked at the two of them and continued to ask, Is it the legendary merit treasure that can kill people without karma? It seems like the heavenly justice god knows a lot. It's not that you don't have karma, but you have too much power of heaven, so some killing is nothing, Lu Xianfeng explained. What are they looking for? Lu Xianfeng asked after a short pause. The Yazi dojo, Jiang Changkong said. Since they were already here and were about to enter together, he couldn't be bothered to hide it anymore. Yazi, Lu Xianfeng murmured and sighed. What a pity for the dragon race. How much do you know about the dragon race? Jiang Changkong asked. Lu Xianfeng was about to answer when Jiang Zifen said, Found it. The two of them ended the conversation and walked over. It was a small pit with many stones in it. Is there a way to enter? Jiang Changkong looked at the two of them. Wait for us to open it. A golden light appeared in Jiang Ziyu's palm, and Jiang Zifen also shot out a golden light. The two lights intertwined and formed a projection of a Yazi. It looked like a wolf and was ferocious. Even though it was just a projection formed by golden light, it still gave people a sense of oppression. The Yazi projection rushed into the pit, and the pit cracked open. A blue light rushed out from the crack. The azure light morphed into a divine dragon and swept them up into the pit. The cracked pit returned to its original state. There was no change compared to before. Jiang Changkong and the other three rode the water dragon and entered a blue world. The water dragon brought them to a huge bluestone door and dissipated. Jiang Ziyu and Lu Xianfeng felt around the bluestone door and pressed on a protrusion. Rumble. The bluestone door opened and 5 cold lights flew out towards the 4 of them. Jiang Changkong's figure flashed, and he stood in front of the 2 of them, turning his chaos divine power into a barrier. Clang! With a crisp sound, 5 daggers fell to the ground. Are these grade 4 immortal artifacts? Jiang Changkong was surprised. The 5 daggers were all immortal artifacts. Lu Xianfeng took them and looked at them carefully. Superior grade 4. They should be used to form an immortal array. Added together, they are stronger than a top grade 4. Here, Jiang Changkong threw them to Jiang Ziyu and Lu Xianfeng. He didn't need any weapons. His body was his strongest weapon. Lu Xianfeng had a lot of good stuff, so he looked down on these. If he could return to the East Sea at will, he might leave the weapons behind and give them to the Dragon King and Ao Qingyu. But now that he was exiled, he didn't know who would benefit in the end, even if he gave them back. Maybe the Heavenly Court would take them away right after he gave them to them. There was a wide passage in front of them. It was 4 meters wide and 6 meters tall. Jiang Changkong walked in front with the 3 behind him. There were many carvings on the walls of the passage, all of them of the sea race. Lu Xianfeng could understand the language of the dragon race. The ancient dragon race was so powerful back then. Lu Xianfeng looked at the wall and sighed. There were countless prawn soldiers and crab generals on the wall. The ancient dragon race occupied the 4 seas and ruled the celestial world sea race. It could be said that the dragon race was in charge of places with water in the celestial world in the ancient era. The wall recorded the glory of the dragon race. The further they went, the more ancient the history of the dragon race. In the beginning of the ancient era, the celestial Dharch personally invited the dragon race to the heavenly peach banquet. They walked to the corner of the passage. The wall depicted the heavenly peach banquet. That must be the moon goddess. Jiang Ziyu suddenly pointed at a dancing fairy in a white dress. Her face was covered by a veil. Her figure was slim, and there was moonlight around her. You have sharp eyes. How do you know that? Lu Xianfeng said. I only know one moon goddess. Jiang Ziyu blushed. Jiang Changkong. He was also a pervert. If he was in the ancient era, he would probably fight with Zhu Beiji. Chapter 571. Wait, this is the Yazi Dojo. Why are they talking about the moon god? Jiang Changkong looked at the other murals. Let's not talk about the moon god. I really can't. Lu Xianfeng looked at the murals and said, according to historical records, the moon god had a good relationship with the ancient dragons. Jiang Changkong was slightly startled. Their relationship is very good? Back in Immortal World, the Dragon King purposely left an extra tie-in saber. This is the Saturn Peach Banquet. Only those who are famous in the celestial world are qualified to participate, said Lu Xianfeng. This is Patriarch Zhen Yuanzi. Let's go. Jiang Changkong walked forward. Lu Xianfeng quickly reached out to stop Jiang Changkong. Wait, let me take a look first. Lu Xianfeng quickly stopped Jiang Changkong. Wait, let me take a look first. After saying that, a green light flew out. Buzz. Jiang Changkong's eyes narrowed. He actually didn't notice it before. Leave it to me. You guys continue looking at the murals. Lu Xuanfeng's hand shot out beams of immortal light, and the golden threads started to dissipate. Jiang Changkong didn't make a move, seeing that Lu Xianfeng could deal with it. He sensed danger from the threads. To avoid unnecessary trouble, he didn't want to force his way in. He sensed danger from those threads. To avoid unnecessary trouble, he decided not to force his way through. Jiang Changkong looked at the other murals. They were even further away. He even saw a group of immortals at the Saturn Peach Banquet, including the Dragon King. He also saw a phoenix and a qilin. Those were really rare species. The moon god winked at me just now, Jiang Ziyu suddenly said. Jiang Zifen also said, I think she winked at me too. Jiang Changkong narrowed his eyes and looked at the moon god. It was still the same, just an ordinary mural. Are you two seeing things? Jiang Changkong frowned. He suspected that they were too engrossed in the murals. How could we be seeing things? We really blinked. The two of them said solemnly and circulated their immortal power. Do you know anything else about this place? Jiang Changkong asked. No, we only know that this is the Yazi dojo. How do we get in? The two of them shook their heads. Jiang Changkong looked at the moon god's image again. This time, he blinked again. Suddenly, a trace of cold and gloomy aura appeared behind him. What is it? Jiang Changkong's chaos divine power permeated the surroundings, but he did not discover anything. What's wrong? The two of them were shocked. Lu Xianfeng also turned to look at Jiang Changkong. When a moon god blinked just now, I felt a cold aura, but I didn't notice it. Jiang Changkong frowned and looked at the two of them. The two of them shook their heads. We didn't notice it just now. Buzz. Lu Xuanfeng's body glowed with a golden light, and he lost control of his body and flew toward the golden threads. Jiang Changkong's figure flickered, and he arrived in the blink of an eye. He grabbed Lu Xianfeng and dragged him back. Jiang Changkong frowned as he felt something pushing him from behind. Chaotic divine light filled the air as a blood-curdling scream resounded from the void. A beast claw fell to the ground. There's really something. Jiang Ziyu and Lu Xianfeng came to his side and picked up the beast claw. It's so sturdy that we can't destroy it. The two of them unleashed their immortal power and the power of laws, but they could not move the beast claw. Immortal Lord, Lu Xianfeng said with a solemn expression, the thing in the dark should be an immortal lord. Hiding in a void? Is that the law of space? Jiang Changkong frowned slightly. His eyes emitted chaotic divine light, but he did not see the folded space. Let's go in first. I'll speed up. Lu Xianfeng hurriedly shot out an immortal light to remove the threads. With Jiang Changkong around, there was no need to be afraid of the thing in the dark. He could protect them. As the threads were removed, Jiang Changkong and the other three walked forward quickly. The cold aura did not appear again. The murals depicted the primordial era, the era of the demon court. At that time, the dragon race was only a large race, and they cultivated in seclusion. The Phoenix and Shilin were also cultivating in seclusion and did not participate in the war in the celestial world. As they went deeper, there were many twists and turns. Some walls did not have murals on them. The murals here should have been erased. Lu Xianfeng glanced at them and said, the wall here is like a shallow pit. Jiang Changkong and the other two nodded and continued forward. The murals were here again. The dragon race, Phoenix, and Shilin were everywhere. They dominated the celestial world, and the ancestral dragon still existed. This was the peak of the dragon race. The demon court had yet to appear. The ancestral dragon was blurry, and they could not see his exact appearance. Jiang Changkong explained to them as they walked. During this era, the dragon race had 5 immortal emperors. At their peak, the dragon race didn't seem strong either. They only had 5 immortal emperors, Jiang Ziyu said. At that time, the celestial Tao had just sprouted. Not to mention immortal emperors, even immortal kings were rare. Lu Xianfeng explained, however, the ancestral dragon was still terrifying because he had proven his Tao. The two of them fell silent. At that time, the celestial Tao had just sprouted. The ancestral dragon had actually proven his Tao. The 4 of them continued forward. The murals were gone. This place had also been erased. For a long time, the murals were not erased. Jiang Changkong felt a cold aura again. That thing was still following them. Chaos divine power spread out and surged out. The cold aura dissipated, but it did not harm that thing. All of them are primordial chaos saints. Jiang Changkong suddenly stopped and looked at the murals. The murals here were all blurry figures. There was no information on these figures. Some were humanoid, some were plants, stones, and insects. There were also huge beasts. It was unknown how many there were. The dragon race's words indicated that all of them were primordial chaos saints. It was just one sentence, but it was enough to shock everyone. All primordial chaos saints? Lu Xianfeng was stunned. Jiang Ziyu and Lu Xianfeng were stunned. Wasn't it said that it was extremely difficult to become a saint? In the past, those that appear in the celestial world were all heavenly Tao saints. They had never heard of any primordial chaos saints. This should be a fiend celestial born from chaos, just like Pangu, Lu Xianfeng said. Jiang Changkong nodded. That should be the case. The four of them continued forward and saw some empty areas. In the next passage, Jiang Changkong's eyes narrowed. 3 palaces, Sun, Moon, and Battle Palace. The pictures of the 3 palaces were no longer of the celestial world or the dragon race. There were only 3 palaces. Is this also the ancient immortal god experiment ground? Lu Xuanfeng's expression turned serious. How much do you know about the ancient immortal god experiment ground? Jiang Changkong asked. Lu Xianfeng shook his head. Not much. I only know that the ancient immortal god experiment ground was creating species. I don't know what exactly they were creating. Jiang Ziyu said, creating species should be related to the legendary law of creation. I've read in an ancient book that humans were created by a great existence. I don't know. The Zhen Yuan celestial sect has found many experiment grounds, but there's no information about that existence. Maybe he didn't participate in it. Lu Xianfeng shook his head. Didn't participate in it? Was that possible? Jiang Changkong didn't believe it. The ancient immortal god experiment ground should have participated in it. Otherwise, the ancient immortal god experiment ground wouldn't have left so cleanly. The two of them continued forward and finally came to a wide space at the end of the passage. There was a container filled with golden liquid, and a true dragon was soaking in it. Was this the city left behind by a true dragon in the East Sea? Chapter 572. Looks like we won't get anything this time. Lu Xianfeng was a little disappointed. He felt like he had made a wasted trip. It was a waste of energy to clean up the threads. Why? Jiang Ziyu and Lu Xianfeng were puzzled. Because there are only these species created by the dragon race in the laboratory, Jiang Changkong said. That's right. Lu Xianfeng sighed. You can't take these species away. They can only exist here. Once they leave this place, they will mysteriously disappear. Jiang Changkong didn't know about this. He only wanted to help the celestial arch retrieve something. The container there seemed to have exploded because of the ancestral dragon's power. The situation was critical at that time. Those species that were created also contributed everything to the ancestral dragon's power. There's nothing else apart from these? The two of them said in disappointment. At least you got an immortal artifact, Lu Xianfeng said. Let's take a look around. Jiang Changkong led them to other places. There were still containers in the distance, lined up. Jiang Changkong soared into the sky, bringing them along as he looked down. As expected, the containers here were also lined up in the shape of a true dragon. Heavenly God, look over there, those 3 containers. Lu Xianfeng pointed to the left. There were 3 huge containers. They were empty, and their lids had been opened. The 3 containers were next to each other. Jiang Changkong flew down and sized up the 3 containers. It would appear that someone has arrived here before us, Jiang Ziyu said. Jiang Zifen's expression was ugly. Not only did they not get anything, but this place had already been visited. Jiang Changkong didn't say anything. He stood in front of a container and took out the beast claw from before. Sigh, bad luck this time, Lu Xianfeng said. Yes, we might have been surrounded by 3 immortal lords, Jiang Changkong said solemnly. What? 3? The 3's expressions changed. Lu Xianfeng said coldly. Immortal lords of the Tianhe celestial kingdom are really fast. Buzz. Golden light bloomed in the air, and a cold voice sounded. As expected of the heavenly god of justice. You are indeed sharp. Even an immortal king's method can't hide from you. However, you are mistaken about one thing. We are not 3, but 4. 4 figures appeared and surrounded them. The aura of the immortal Tao laws was astonishing, like a high and mighty monarch. The pressure of an immortal lord caused the surrounding immortal power to surge, and the surroundings were filled with the laws of the 4 of them. Jiang Changkong looked at them in astonishment. Can I tell you that I didn't notice you? He looked at the claw, and then at the dragon words on it. Dimensional creatures. It was a species created from the laws of space. There was also a tiny pattern on it. When he zoomed in, the claw was the same as the one in his hand. Actually, kill. Jiang Chankong had just opened his mouth when he was interrupted. The four immortal lords struck at the same time. How dare you? Behind the heavenly god of justice is the heavenly court. Jiang Ziyu and the other man shouted coldly. Jiang Chankong and Lu Xianfeng. Heavenly court? Will the heavenly court care about the life and death of the abandoned heavenly god of justice? The four immortal lords sneered, and the immortal lord in the lead slashed at Jiang Chankong. Jiang Chankong's face turned cold. He protected them with his chaotic divine power and faced the four immortal lords with his palm. The heavenly river celestial kingdom is really generous. 3 late-stage immortal lords and 1 peak immortal lord. Boom! Powerful immortal powers clashed, and the immortal lord's mighty power spread across the entire space. Rumble. Wherever the divine power passed, the indestructible vessels in the past had collapsed. Golden liquid spilled out, and the creatures that were created rolled out. Some of the creatures were directly turned into ashes, and some had strong defenses. Even the shock waves of the immortal lord's battle could not destroy them. Jiang Chankong's figure was pushed back, and he frowned. There was at least one-dimensional creature hidden in the dark, and it was very likely that the creatures in the other 2 vessels had also escaped. During the battle, just now, only the peak immortal lord could give him great pressure. The other 3 late-stage immortal lords did not feel any pressure at all. If they fought, he might win, but the 3 people behind him might not be able to protect him. The 4 immortal lords descended with cold expressions. We 4 immortal lords are here to send you off. You should feel honored even if you die. Heavenly Water Immortal Lord, for the sake of the Zhen Yuan celestial sect, why don't you stop for now? Lu Xianfeng looked at the peak immortal lord and said, this was one of the 4 marshals of the Sky River Celestial Kingdom. The peak immortal lord, Heavenly Water Immortal Lord. Heavenly Water Immortal Lord looked at him coldly. The Golden Water Town has already given the Zhen Yuan celestial sect face. You can leave, but the heavenly god of justice must die. All right, I'll leave with my 2 friends. I don't care about the heavenly god of justice anymore. Lu Xianfeng stood behind Jiang Chankong and stuck a piece of yellow cloth on his back. An incomplete immortal emperor treasure. Jiang Chankong sent a voice transmission. The disc has been activated, and there are 3 more immortal lords in the dark. Are you confident that you can hold them off? 3 more? Not them. Lu Xianfeng was dumbfounded. If I say that the creatures created by the dragon race have come back to life, would you believe me? The beast claw from before. I don't care about these 4, but I'm worried that I won't be able to protect you. Jiang Chankong said. Then I'll keep this cloth. Goodbye. Lu Xianfeng put away the yellow cloth and dragged the 2 away. The incomplete immortal emperor treasure and the disc should be able to hold off the attacks of 3 immortal lords, right? Maybe there was only 1. It all depended on luck. What's going on? Jiang Ziyu and Lu Xianfeng were confused. The Sky River Celestial Kingdom was so arrogant that they didn't even give face to the heavenly court. Lu Xianfeng brought them to the passage, opened the disc, and covered it with a yellow cloth. Don't you know? The heavenly court has given up on the heavenly court. There will be a reward for killing the heavenly court. The 2. Holy shit, we thought we found a backer, but it turned out to be a huge problem. All right, irrelevant people can leave. The sword in heavenly water, immortal lord's hand shone with a dazzling golden light. Heavenly god of justice, remember to be obedient in your next life. Kill. Do you think you 4 dogs can do anything to me? Jiang Chankong snorted and activated his chaotic golden body. His aura surged. The laws of chaos manifested and endless chaos spread. You're indeed powerful, but you still can't change the outcome of your death. Heavenly Water Immortal Lord's sword was extremely fast. The sword light combined with the power of laws tore through the chaos. The 3 late-stage chaotic immortals were not slow and followed closely. Jiang Chankong's expression did not change. The laws of chaos and chaotic divine power surged, and turned into a chaotic blade aura that met heavenly water, immortal lord. With a boom, the chaotic blade aura tore through the robe and skin. Gray blood splattered on the ground. Clang! The other three immortal lords could not break through the defense. Rumble! The vast divine power surged, and the other containers exploded. The ground collapsed. Accept your fate. His cold words resounded. Heavenly water immortal lord's body was so fast that the sword light could not catch him. Jiang Changkong moved his feet and used the martial arts of the mortal world. He had not used them since he merged them. Now that he used them with chaotic divine power, they were very effective. The sun and moon appeared under his feet. He moved his palms, and endless chaos formed a palm. The three late-stage immortal lords were sent flying. Jiang Changkong's palm met heavenly water immortal lords. Puffed. The sword tore his skin, leaving a bone-deep wound. Heavenly water immortal lord retreated with ease. Chapter 573. Heavenly God of Justice, accept your fate. A cold voice rang out. The sword light tore through the void like a golden river falling from the sky. The immortal Tao laws of the peak immortal lords filled the entire space. Jiang Changkong felt his divine power being compressed again and unable to escape. The three late-stage immortal lords also used their laws. Their palms were filled with chaotic divine power and shot toward the heavenly river sword aura. Rumble! The battle between the five immortal lords created a powerful shockwave that swept in all directions like a great river. It was vast and mighty, engulfing and destroying everything. The ground was scraped 100 meters deep and 100 miles wide. Jiang Changkong's figure rapidly descended, and the heavenly eye between his brows opened. The four immortal lords dodged at the same time. They didn't want to be targeted by the chaotic heavenly eye. Boom! Jiang Changkong landed on the ground like a cannonball, stirring up a cloud of dust. Your strength is indeed surprising. You can actually last until now with four immortal lords working together. The four immortal lords slowly descended. Their divine light was dazzling, and the aura of the immortal Tao laws was dense. The four of them looked down at Jiang Changkong like lofty monarchs. In the deep pit, Jiang Changkong stood up. A bone-chilling cold air came from under his feet. Wisps of silver-white aura rose from the ground. Jiang Changkong lowered his eyes. There was silver-white ice in the cracks in the ground. Moon Chi, looks like I don't need the sky-splitting art anymore. A smile appeared on Jiang Changkong's face. Originally, he had a chance with the sky-splitting art. However, he had been holding back because he was afraid of the things in the dark. Now, there was still Moon Chi hidden in the ground. The chaotic divine power detected that it was a huge moon immortal array. Moreover, this immortal array contained a terrifying power. He could use the power of this immortal array to deal with the four immortal lords. Kill! With a cold shout, the Milky Way sword descended from the sky. The three immortal lords also used their laws to strengthen the heavenly river sword. The wind and clouds changed. The entire space was filled with terrifying sword chi. The boundless water of the heavenly river, the golden river, converged to form the sword of the immortal Tao. In the distance, the three people hiding in the damaged immortal emperor treasures also felt great terror and danger. Is there any way to save the heavenly God of justice? Jiang Ziyu asked anxiously. The Milky Way sword was beyond their imagination. The irresistible divine might, the irresistible danger, made them feel despair. Lu Xianfeng shook his head. There's nothing we can do. Let's pray for the unexpected. He hoped that Jiang Changkong was right, that the dimensional creature that had escaped would come and save him. Buzz. Rumble. The entire space shook, including the tunnel Lu Xianfeng and the others were in. A silver-white glow was emitted, covering the entire Yazi dojo. Endless cold air froze the entire space. Even the passageway was covered in a layer of ice. Torrential cold chi froze everything. Profound runes circulated in the silvery white ice. The unblockable sword suddenly stopped, and the moon chi froze the Milky Way sword chi. What happened? The four immortal lords' expressions changed drastically. Layers of silvery white ice also appeared on their bodies. Moon, moon, moon. A bright moon slowly rose into the sky. Jiang Changkong stood under the bright moon as the moon rose above his head. Boom! The Milky Way sword chi shattered and dissipated in a cold air. The ice on the four immortal lords' bodies also cracked. Jiang Changkong moved his body and appeared in front of Heavenly Water Deity Lord. The huge moon celestial formation released waves of moon energy into Jiang Changkong's body. With the help of the moon celestial formation, Jiang Changkong's divine power surged. He slammed his palm toward Heavenly Water Deity Lord's chest. Crack! At the critical moment, Heavenly Water Deity Lord's body emitted a golden light and shattered the ice. Boom! Heavenly Water Deity Lord was sent flying. Crack! The cracking sound was heard again. The other three immortal lords also emitted golden light and shattered the ice. Jiang Changkong frowned. Looks like you have many life-saving trump cards. I've underestimated you. I thought I could save the Immortal King's move, but I still had to use it. Heavenly Water Deity Lord's expression was gloomy. His long hair fluttered in the wind, and his sword emitted immortal light. The three immortal lords came to his side with cold expressions. You've really put in a lot of effort to kill me. Jiang Changkong sneered. The bright moon above his head shone with endless moon and poured into his body. Boom! With the help of the moon energy, Jiang Changkong's aura surged again. However, this was as far as he could go. Any more, and his body would not be able to withstand it. But this was enough. Jiang Changkong extended his right hand. The moon energy gathered and turned into a silvery white sword. He opened his left hand, and a moon saber appeared. The saber and sword merged, and a moon aura was released. Kill! The saber and sword intertwined and collided. Although the immortal artifact was condensed from power, its toughness was not inferior to their weapons. Clang! The saber and sword collided. The laws of the immortal Tao dissipated, and shock waves surged. However, the moon celestial formation was powerful and of high quality. Even if they fought with all their strength, they could not damage it. I didn't expect you to be able to borrow the moon aura. The Milky Way sword chi shot out. Tianshui, immortal lord, shifted his body and dodged the moon saber and sword chi. What I know, how much can you pry into? Jiang Changkong's saber fell, and a late-stage immortal lord was sent flying. The saber was fierce, and the sword was ruthless. Both sides fought with all their strength, not holding back at all. With the help of the moon aura, Jiang Changkong's strength was no weaker than Tianshui, immortal lords. The three late-stage immortal lords were much weaker than him. In just a few moves, they were all sent flying, vomiting blood. Clang! The saber and sword collided. Jiang Changkong and Tianshui, immortal lords, slid back at the same time. Jiang Changkong's sword slashed out a beam of sword chi, and the late-stage immortal lord was sent flying again. Looks like the heavenly god of justice. What's that? Jiang Ziyu heaved a sigh of relief. The next moment, his eyes widened in disbelief behind the immortal lord. Watch out! Tianshui, immortal lord, shouted. The other two immortal lords' expressions changed drastically. They slashed their immortal light behind them. Boom! A huge creature appeared in the void and swallowed the immortal lord. Under the threat of death, the immortal lord's body shone with golden light again, and he was sent flying by a huge force. The other two immortal lords sensed something. Their immortal light swept out and collided with one of the ferocious creatures. Both sides were sent flying. Two behemoths, one a green python, shuttled out of the void, its head as large as a mountain. Its body was endless, and there was no end to it. Although it was powerful and exuded the aura of the laws, it did not have a unique aura. The other was a divine ape. Its muscles were like mountains, and its body was 10,000 feet long. Ancient divine ape, ancient green, created by the dragon race, has come to life. Lu Xianfeng was shocked. The species created by the dragon race had really come to life. There was still a dimensional beast that had not come out. What the hell is that? Tianshui Immortal Lord's expression changed drastically. The three immortal lords were blocked by two creatures created by the ancient times. "You'll know when you're dead," Jiang Changkong shouted coldly. He dragged his saber and sword and charged at Tianshui Immortal Lord. He did not expect the two ferocious beasts to come out just like that, and even help him block the three immortal lords. In that case, all he had to do was to kill Tianshui Immortal Lord and guard against the dimensional beasts. Chapter 574. Boom! As the sword and saber fell, the two figures fought again. Jiang Changkong noticed the two beasts from the corner of his eye. They were powerful, but they couldn't hold out for long. They were just creations, not real ancient species. Compared to the real ferocious beasts, they were a level lower. The dimensional beasts are no match for me. I don't have to hide anymore. After Jiang Changkong saw the strength of the two beasts, he felt relieved. He didn't have to worry about being taken advantage of. He had the Tying Celestial Formation, which provided him with an unlimited supply of divine power and the old Lord's elixirs. The azure light in his body merged with the law of chaos. Jiang Changkong's sword and saber turned into the chaos sword and saber. The chaos was torn apart, and the mysterious light of sky opening appeared again. Sky opening. Tianshui deity's expression changed, as if he had seen something terrifying. The person in front of him turned into a giant with an unshakable divine power and an incomprehensible light of sky opening. An ancient aura was released, and the ancient aura was recovering. Behind Jiang Changkong, endless chaos rose, and a mysterious shadow slowly formed. It had a human body and a snake tail, with 7 hands on its back and 2 in front, holding 2 flying snakes. The mysterious shadow shot out divine light following Jiang Changkong's movements, tearing the chaos apart. Sky opening. The move of opening the sky. Tianshui deity Lord felt like an ant. His strange emotions made him lower his head, not daring to look up at it. However, in the face of danger, he could only use the immortal power in his body. Boom! The chaos sword and saber slashed down, and cracks appeared on the immortal longsword. Blood splattered and flew out. The golden light left by the immortal king shone again. But after blocking the attack, the immortal light dimmed. Golden blood flowed on the hilt of the sword. Tianshui deity stood up with a frightened expression. He didn't know what secret art Jiang Changkong had used, but he felt that he had seen great terror, an existence that could not be looked up to, an existence that surpassed all living beings. The sword and saber rose again. Jiang Changkong's energy recovered quickly, but it wasn't enough, so he took another recovery elixir. After he had advanced, the power of the split the heavens technique had also increased, but at the same time, its consumption had also become more terrifying. The move just now could have killed Tianshui deity lord, but he had a life-saving measure left behind by an immortal king. Splitting the heavens had used up almost all of his energy. Even the immortal array couldn't instantly recover. Fortunately, the Grand Supreme Elder's medicinal pills were strong enough, and the two worked together to recover quickly. The move of Sky Splitter appeared again, and the phantom image behind him appeared once more. Get lost! Tianshui Immortal Lord roared. This time, he used all his strength before the first move of Sky Splitting was completed. He was worried that it would be like before, where he could only passively defend. Boom! Crack! The move that split open the heavens descended again. A clear and melodious noise sounded. Immortal light erupted, but it collapsed. The Celestial King's technique was gone. No! Horrified screams could be heard. The sword and saber slashed at Tianshui deity lord, and his vitality quickly dissipated. Even if he used his full strength in advance, he still wouldn't be able to block it. Power of Heaven released 50,000. Jiang Changkong heaved a sigh of relief. With the power of heaven in his account, this heavenly water deity was really dead. He looked at the other 3 immortal lords, who were suppressing the 2 ferocious beasts. The 2 ferocious beasts were covered with injuries, and their auras were weak. They roared repeatedly, but they were still holding on to them. Jiang Changkong's energy recovered. The sword and saber slashed down, enveloping the three late-stage immortal lords at the same time. It was still the Sky Splitter. Boom! The move of Sky Splitter landed, and the three immortal lords were sent flying. The immortal light on their bodies shattered. Marshal! At this moment, the three late-stage immortal lords realized that Tianshui, immortal lord, was already dead. Roar! The two ferocious beasts roared and retreated to the side. Suddenly, a strange language came out of their mouths. A chilling aura swept across the area. Thump, thump, a dull sound was heard in the void. It sounded like a drum, but also like the beating of a heart. A faint murmur sounded beside their ears. The expressions of everyone present changed at the same time. Even the three immortal lords protected by the incomplete immortal emperor treasures heard this sound. It sounded like a woman was whispering beside their ears. Jiang Changkong's body shook, and he looked down at his feet in disbelief. Apart from the Taiyin celestial array, there was also a vast power. As the murmur sounded, the vast power began to recover. The murmur continued. Jiang Changkong heard intermittent cold words beside his ears. Bright moon leads. The path of return is cold. Our souls are intertwined. Who understands the vast cold? As the words were spoken, the cold aura became stronger, and the vast power underneath became more and more obvious. Boom! A superior aura rose like that of a king. A giant shadow rose from the bodies of the three immortal lords. The dead Tianshui, immortal lord, also emitted wisps of power and gathered in the shadow. The shadow released 1,000,000 rays of immortal light, and many laws and profundities appeared out of nowhere. Whoosh! The golden immortal light turned into rivers that carried the shadow of a king. Sky River Immortal Lord? Jiang Changkong suddenly raised his head and looked at the shadow of a king in shock. The noble aura of a king made the chaos space wail. The heavy pressure made everyone's heart skip a beat. The shadow's face was blurry, and its true appearance could not be seen. The immortal light scattered, and the profundities of the heavenly river filled the void. The Sky River Immortal Lord had arrived. Although it was only a shadow, it was not something that an immortal lord could resist. It's my honor that the Sky River Immortal Lord has come personally, Jiang Changkong said coldly. The heavenly court was really ruthless. They really sent an immortal lord to kill him. The Sky River Immortal Lord most likely wanted his immortal lords to kill him, so that the heavens could not blame him. However, he had lost many immortal lords. Even a peak immortal Lord Marshal had died in his hands. The Sky River Immortal Lord had no choice but to kill him personally. The power of the king's shadow was still increasing. The three immortal lords continued to pour their immortal power into the shadow to strengthen it. Meanwhile, the mysterious and vast power underground had completely recovered. The cold aura was getting stronger and stronger. Heavenly God of Justice, watch out! Lu Xianfeng suddenly yelled. Jiang Changkong's heart skipped a beat. The power underground had disappeared. Unknowingly, a cold aura had appeared behind him. The king's shadow in the sky started to tremble violently. The heavenly river surged, and the laws and profundities were unleashed. The king image, which had yet to take form, quickly retreated as if it had encountered a great terror. Jiang Changkong's body stiffened, not daring to move. The Sky River deity king's projection was so scared that it peed itself. He felt a chill on his shoulder. A jade-like hand was placed on his right shoulder. Jiang Changkong sensed that his chaos stars were trembling and releasing a strand of chaos divine power. The chaotic divine power flew out of his body and changed again, turning into the lunar divine power. A lady in a white dress appeared. Her face was covered by a veil, and her face could not be seen. Jiang Changkong's pupils constricted. This was something he had cultivated himself. After fusing with it, it disappeared. But now, it had been forcefully split apart by someone using a great divine ability. Whose hand was it on his shoulder? Boom! The heavenly river's celestial monarch's illusory figure trembled violently with a trace of fear. Moon God. Moon God? The ancient moon god, the one from the moon palace. It was no wonder that the heavenly river immortal monarch was so scared that he pissed his pants. But she was definitely a mighty figure. Chapter 575. She wore a white dress, and the moonlight shone down on her. The god of the moon had stepped into the mortal world. She retracted her hand from Jiang Changkong's shoulder, and a cold aura started to move. Jiang Changkong didn't move. He looked at the sky river immortal king's projection. That projection was gradually dissipating. A shrill scream rang out, causing one's scalp to go numb. It was obvious that the sky river immortal king didn't purposely dissipate, but was forcibly dissipated by the moon goddess. Although Jiang Changkong couldn't see how the moon goddess did it. The three immortal lords also fainted. Her jade-like fingers rested on his shoulder again, and a huge, ferocious beast appeared beneath her feet. Jiang Changkong felt his vision blur, and he was already in another space. There was only one throne in the majestic hall. Ocean Race Palace. The ferocious beast disappeared, and the white-dressed figure appeared in front of Jiang Changkong. It was hazy, and he couldn't see clearly. He only knew that it was a white-dressed woman. Greetings, moon goddess. Jiang Changkong cupped his hands and bowed. However, he was puzzled. There was nothing here. Why did she bring him here? What are you puzzled about? A cold voice sounded. The moon goddess waved her hand, and a silver-white table and chair appeared. Jiang Changkong sat down and frowned. I have many questions. For example, where did the ancient immortals go, and what are they researching? I'm not sure, the moon goddess said coldly. Although I was a participant back then, I don't know the course secrets. Then, did they arrange for you to stay here? Jiang Changkong asked. I worked with the dragon race, and stayed here in secret to wait for the moon god lineage to return. The moon goddess didn't hide anything and said directly, I wanted to leave a method to send news to my main body. Can you contact your main body? Jiang Changkong hurriedly asked. No, after my main body left, I lost contact. I only know that I'm still alive, the moon goddess said. Still alive? Why didn't you come back after so many years? Jiang Changkong's expression changed slightly, but he was extremely shocked. The ancient immortals were still alive? The moon deity said coldly. It is my main body that is still alive. The other immortals and gods don't know. If my main body dies, my remnant soul will also dissipate. Jiang Changkong understood. The moon goddess could only confirm that his main body still existed. As for what kind of state it was, he didn't know. He did not know if the rest of the immortals were dead or alive. Then, could you please tell me what you know? Jiang Changkong frowned slightly. He actually wanted to directly ask if there was any more celestial stone powder. It was just that this question was a little too direct. He was worried that the moon goddess would slap him to death. After all, he had cultivated the cold moon art before, so he could be considered half an inheritor, right? Back then, the immortal world was unified and peaceful. The immortal gods governed the immortal world and the mortal world. Hundreds of millions of years later, the heavenly god invited the dragon tribe and many ancient powers to the heavenly peach banquet to propose a study. At the beginning, the moon goddess did not participate, because at the beginning, the heavenly emperor had invited the ancient powerful figures, the various major powers, and a few heavenly path sages. The moon goddess did not know what was discussed, but she knew that everyone had agreed. From then on, the research began and the experimental grounds appeared. Countless years passed, and they created countless ancient species, but they did not create what they wanted. The various major powers wanted to give up because their research had almost exhausted their resources. After countless years of accumulation, some connate materials that were no longer growing were almost all used up. They started to suspect that the research was a mistake. If they continued, they would only fill up the immortal world. However, the heavenly emperor was unwilling, and so were the heavenly path sages. But no matter how unwilling they were, they had no choice. Until one day, the heavenly emperor found the remains of the monster Emperor Dijun. From then on, the immortal world changed. The heavenly Tao began to collapse, and many immortals and gods died. The heavenly court was almost destroyed. Billions of stars were destroyed, and even the lunar star was affected. The moon goddess spoke coldly, as if these things could not affect her. The heavenly Tao was split into countless parts, scattered all over the immortal world. Only a small piece of the heavenly court was left, and it was preserved. And the research continued. At this time, the moon goddess was invited by the dragon race to participate in the research. However, the dragon race did not tell her what they were researching. They only asked her to contribute resources and effort. Moon goddess doesn't know anything? Jiang Changkong frowned. She agreed just like that? Perhaps my main body knows. The moon goddess shook her head. Jiang Changkong did not ask further and continued listening. The research continued. They used all kinds of methods to find the ancient sages scattered in the world. For example, the ancestral dragon, the monster emperor, the phoenix ancestor, the first Qilin. After finding them, the heavenly emperor and the heavenly path sages all came to talk to them. The moon goddess did not know what exactly they talked about, until one day, the heavenly emperor and the heavenly path sages suggested leaving the immortal world. Before leaving, they erased some of the murals in the passage, murals related to research. The moon goddess left a divine soul here, hoping that her main body could contact the immortal world. However, her main body left with the ancient immortals and gods, and the connection was cut off. The fact that her divine soul was still here meant that her main body was not dead. After the ancient immortals and gods left for a period of time, 3 of the creatures here developed intelligence and became new lives. Of course, the reason why they developed intelligence was mainly because the dragon race purposely dispersed the ancestral dragon's power. If the ancestral dragon's power still remained, none of the beasts would be able to come back to life. The moon goddess was also one of the researchers here. She was very powerful, so the 3 beasts chose to protect her divine soul. When they were staring at the murals in the passage, the dimensional beasts were worshipping the moon goddess. He only attacked when he sensed a cold aura that alerted the dimensional beasts. However, he was too powerful, so the dimensional beasts could only find an opportunity to attack him. When he activated the Supreme Een Celestial Formation and exposed the Supreme Een Divine Power, the 3 beasts stopped being hostile and chose to help him. When they sensed the energy of the Sky River Deity Emperor, they chose to awaken the divine soul of the moon goddess. Then I really have to thank them. They didn't care about their previous offense and repaid evil with good, Jiang Changkong said. It's all right. I've seen your memories in the mortal world. You might be the product of their research, the moon goddess said. Jiang Changkong twitched his lips. Then I can only say that the ancient immortals and gods are really powerful. Did the ancient immortals and gods really want to create Pengu? They couldn't do it. I can't fuse with them without the ability to level up. Since you like the celestial stones, here are some research materials. Take them. The moon goddess waved her hand, and the space around them changed. When they reappeared, they were already inside a treasure vault. Essence, energy, and spirit, 350,000. Withdraw? There was nothing else except for the processed celestial stone powder. The rest of the materials have been taken away. This is the only thing left, the moon goddess said coldly. Thank you, moon goddess. Jiang Changkong cupped his fists. This was already a lot. It was equivalent to dealing with 7 guilty immortal dukes. After the celestial stone powder was taken away, the moon goddess said calmly, "Don't come back after you leave." Why? Jiang Changkong was puzzled. I can't hide my divine soul anymore. Chapter 576. Inside a dense forest. Jiang Changkong's group of 4 was discussing this matter under the tree. After talking to the moon goddess, they were thrown out of the dojo by the moon goddess. Moon goddess, I didn't expect the heavenly god of justice to be related to the moon goddess. Jiang Ziyu and Lu Xianfeng said enviously. Lu Xianfeng also sighed. It's a pity that it's just a soul. Jiang Changkong rolled his eyes. Can you guys be more normal? The moon goddess is just a slightly stronger immortal. Slightly stronger? Heavenly God, can you tell us the truth? That's slightly stronger? The 3's eyes twitched. The moon god was an ancient immortal god. They didn't know exactly how strong she was, but they could guess a thing or two just by looking at the Sky River Immortal King's soul. Even the Sky River Immortal King's main body would be smashed to pieces. Jiang Changkong didn't say anything. He was counting his gains. After knowing that he was the heavenly god of justice, the moon goddess handed the other 3 immortal lords to him. Just the 4 immortal dukes alone had already obtained 200,000 heavenly powers. Coupled with the 350,000 immortal stone powder, he could improve a lot this time. Peak immortal lords wouldn't be a match for him in the future. He could kill them without using the sky-splitting art. Heavenly God, why did the moon goddess invite you? Did she tell you any big secrets, such as the moon palace's treasures? Lu Xianfeng asked. Jiang Ziyu and Lu Xianfeng also pricked up their ears and waited for Jiang Changkong to tell them about the treasures. If there was a big secret, do you think I would still be here chatting with you? Jiang Changkong said indifferently. Okay, I'll cultivate first. You guys can continue. The 3 were a bit disappointed. They could only sit on the side and didn't dare to disturb him. Essence, energy, and spirit. 579,000. Jiang Changkong thought about how to improve his essence, energy, and spirit. He didn't know if he could improve the Golden Crow Immortal Sutra to the peak. However, even if the Golden Crow Immortal Sutra reached the peak, it wouldn't be able to fight the Immortal King. He could only choose between the 5th Revolution Mystic Art and the Chaotic Tao Body for now, or wait a few more days. Then, he would first improve the 4 Revolutions Mysterious Art and the Golden Crow Immortal Scripture. Once his mysterious art reached the initial success stage, the rest would be as far as he could go. Thinking up to this point, Jiang Changkong set up his chaotic energy to prevent them from noticing anything. An immeasurable amount of primal chaos power dissipated as the 5 Revolutions mystic art circulated rapidly within his body. The law of primal chaos, the green light, and the primal chaos divine power all improved. The Golden Crow Immortal Scripture was also improving. The laws of the sun surged, and countless profundities manifested. Boundless primal chaos manifested around him. Golden crows shuttled through the primal chaos. All kinds of primal chaos profundities formed mysterious runes that illuminated the void. Under the suppression of the law of primal chaos, the Golden Crow's aura did not leak out. The 3 of them moved away from him, talking in low voices. Half a day later, the primal chaos and the Golden Crow dissipated, and Jiang Changkong's transformation stopped. Jiang Changkong, Mid-Stage Immortal Lord, Divine Lord. 5th Revolution Mysterious Art. Initial Success. 1/900,000 Acquired Chaotic Taoist Body. Basic. 1/300,000 Golden Crow Immortal Sutra. Initial Success. 1/112500 Essence. Energy, Spirit. 242242. After looking at the data, Jiang Changkong continued to upgrade the Golden Crow Immortal Sutra. The law of the sun changed again, and the Golden Crow appeared again to make up for the deficiency. Although the Golden Crow Immortal Scripture was far inferior to the acquired chaotic Taoist body, it had to be upgraded sooner or later. It was better to upgrade it now. This way, his realm would also be higher. After another half a day, the sun principle calmed down, and all the energy was absorbed back into his body. Jiang Changkong, Late Stage Divine Lord, 5th Revolution Mysterious Art. Initial Success. 1/900,000 Acquired Chaotic Taoist Body. Basic. 1/300,000 Golden Crow Immortal Sutra. Desheng. 1/337500 Essence. Energy and Spirit. 130442. Feeling the majestic power in his body, Jiang Changkong sighed again. Top-grade immortal scriptures were really F*King cheap. It was only natural that Pangu could crush everything. They were not on the same level at all. Standing up, Jiang Changkong pondered. Right now, 100 points of essence, energy, and spirit felt like it was too little. Unfortunately, the Heavenly Tao was unwilling to pay more. Congratulations, Heavenly God. Your cultivation has improved. The 3 of them cupped their fists. The Heavenly God of Justice is so good. You can enforce the law so quickly. Jiang Ziyu and the other two said enviously. Jiang Chongkong had a smile on his face and did not explain further. From her point of view, as long as he enforced the law, the heavenly Tao would reward him and increase his strength. Not to mention that he improved quickly. They could accept it even if he became an immortal king in one step. The heavenly Tao was the biggest cheat. It was unreasonable. Heavenly God, we've done some research. This place is not far from the great wilderness. Heavenly God, please stay for a few more days. Let us be the host, the two said. Jiang Chongkong said strangely, aren't you afraid that the heavenly court will put you on the wanted list? What's there to be afraid of? We still have Lu Xianfeng. The two smiled. They were already familiar with Lu Xianfeng, so the heavenly court probably wouldn't offend the Zhen Yuan celestial sect. Jiang Chongkong's expression was calm. Do you think the heavenly court knows that you're with me? The two were startled. Of course they knew. Although the Sky River Immortal Monarch's projection was destroyed, his main body was still there. He would definitely tell the heavenly court about the Yazi Dao ground. The heavenly court could deduce that they would go to the great wilderness celestial kingdom based on their route. They could set up a trap in the great wilderness celestial kingdom and wait for them to jump in. Why don't we go to the Zhen Yuan celestial sect? Lu Xianfeng suggested. If you don't have anything to worry about, don't go back. The two looked at each other and fell silent. Jiang Chongkong didn't say anything. Lu Xianfeng didn't say anything else either. After a long while, the two said, in that case, let's not go back. We'll go to the Zhen Yuan celestial sect. I don't think I need to go with you to the Zhen Yuan celestial sect, Jiang Chongkong said. The Sky River Immortal Monarch knows you. I will only implicate you. Take this. As long as you don't enter the ancient Dao ground, you can contact me in the celestial world. Lu Xianfeng took out an emerald jade token and handed it to Jiang Chongkong. Then we'll part ways here. We'll meet again if fate allows it. Jiang Chongkong cupped his fists. Heavenly God, we'll wait for you at the Zhen Yuan celestial sect. The heavenly court won't be able to reach there, Lu Xianfeng said confidently. The Zhen Yuan celestial sect's patriarch was unfathomable. Before the celestial arch became a sage, he probably wouldn't attack the Zhen Yuan celestial sect. I'll go to the Zhen Yuan celestial sect if there's a chance. Jiang Chongkong smiled. By the way, are you going to sell your Khanate spirit stones? Lu Xianfeng hadn't forgotten about the Khanate spirit stones in his hands. You don't have them now, Jiang Chongkong said. But I have news that the mine is at least grade 4, Lu Xianfeng said in a low voice. Jiang Chongkong raised an eyebrow. I'm already an immortal lord. Grade 4 is useless. Also, do you think I have time to mine? Let's talk somewhere else. Lu Xianfeng waved and walked to the side with him. Are you interested in the heavenly court's mine? Although I belong to the heavens, I can't rob others for no reason, let alone the heavenly courts, Jiang Chongkong said seriously. In his heart, he added, if it's a 5th rank, I'll be very interested. Lu Xianfeng said, the heavenly court depends on the person. It's in the great wilderness. As far as I know, the immortals there have bullied the people of the great wilderness and committed countless crimes. If not for the heavenly court, they would have been killed by the immortal lord of the Zhen Yuan celestial sect. I'm impartial, but you must guarantee that this information is true, Jiang Chongkong said. If it's false, I won't complain if you want to kill me in the future. Chapter 577. After parting with the three, a map appeared in Jiang Chongkong's mind. Lu Xianfeng was indeed a disciple of the Zhen Yuan celestial sect. He knew a lot about the heavenly court. Apart from the mine, there were also the various strongholds of the heavenly court on the way to the Zhen Yuan celestial sect. The heavenly court didn't seem like a heavenly court at all. They occupied most of the resources. Apart from the two major sects, the 5th and 6th grade mines were almost all occupied by the heavenly court. The immortals of the heavenly court also abused their power in the strongholds. Bullying the living beings near the strongholds was a common thing. What really shocked Jiang Chongkong was their cooperation with the evil spirits. Some powerful evil spirits, such as immortal lords, were mostly related to the heavenly court. The heavenly court allowed them to exist, and they could do whatever they wanted. They would even protect them. All the evil spirits had to do was hand over half of their harvest. Jiang Changkong didn't know if the situation had changed after the awakening of the heavenly law. Turning into a beam of light, Jiang Changkong headed for the Orvain. Alhai Nation, Fei Imperial Palace. A familiar guest from the heavenly court had arrived. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei, why are you here instead of enjoying your life in the heavenly court? The deputy looked at Heavenly Monarch Ziwei with a hint of confusion. He was surprised that Heavenly Monarch Ziwei had come of his own accord. I'm here to discuss something with the Fei Imperial Palace. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei looked at old ape Sun Yuan. Something? Discuss? Jiang Changkong sneered. The Heavenly River Celestial Kingdom used my name and committed a massacre. Don't think I don't know that it was your heavenly court that did it. I'm here to give a gift to the Fei Imperial Palace, Heavenly Monarch Ziwei said. Treat it as making up for the unhappiness from before. Oh, Jiang Changkong raised an eyebrow. Tell me about it. There's only one Heavenly Arch and the Heavenly God of Justice. Doesn't the Fei Imperial Palace want to be the only heavenly monster of justice? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei said. There's no need for you to worry about something that could be easily done, Jiang Changkong said. Sun Yuan also interjected. The Heavenly Court's Heavenly God of Justice has been crippled. Thank you. Crippled? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei chuckled coldly. That Heavenly God of Justice has hidden his strength better than anyone. Not long ago, he slew a pinnacle immortal lord. What? Sun Yuan's expression changed drastically. He said in disbelief, Ziwei, are you talking nonsense? You demons are really outdated. You can ask around about Skyriver Immortal Kingdom's Skywater Immortal Lord. The demon sovereign has not gone out to enforce the law for the past few days. Have you already forgotten about the increase brought by the power of heaven? Heavenly King Ziwei said coldly. Jiang Changkong remained silent. Sun Yuan's brows furrowed tightly. The Heavenly God of Justice's improvement was truly astonishing. It had only been a few days, and he was already able to kill a pinnacle high immortal. Their demonic sovereign was indeed powerful in the past, but he was only equivalent to an early-stage high immortal. Previously, Zhang Xian had said that he had no need to fear intermediate heavenly high immortals. Compared to slaying a heavenly high immortal, this was a far cry from it. A faint smile appeared on Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's face. Demon Monarch, the Heavenly Court can choose not to interfere. Demon Sovereign, Old Ape thinks that this matter needs further investigation. Sun Yuan frowned. Jiang Changkong raised his hand slightly. The monster race has turned over a new leaf. No matter how strong the Heavenly God of Justice is, what can he do? Sun Yuan was slightly startled. Then he smiled and said, That's right, Heavenly King. You got the wrong idea. My demon race has already forsaken evil and started doing good. What about the Demon Emperor himself? Give up your position as a heavenly demon immortal? Heavenly King Ziwei said coldly. He did not believe that the Demon Emperor would be willing to give up. The Heavenly God of Justice was a prime example of the increase brought by immortal positions. In just a few short days, he had already stepped into the heavenly high immortal realm, and coupled with the augmentation of the heavens, his fighting prowess was truly astounding. In the face of such power, who could endure it? If the Heavenly God of Justice really has the ability, then come and take it, Jiang Changkong said lightly. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei sneered. Looks like I've overestimated the Demonic Emperor. So the Demonic Emperor is already scared out of his wits. Ziwei, you're courting death, Sun Yuan said angrily. Jiang Changkong raised a hand to stop Sun Yuan. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's strength was far superior to his. Looking at the silent Jiang Changkong, Heavenly Monarch Ziwei said again, That's right, rumor has it that the sun and moon are a heavenly marriage. Jiang Changkong suddenly raised his head. What do you mean, Heavenly Monarch? The moon god's immortal position had already been obtained by Fairy Yushue. Could this old fart be trying to matchmake them? My heart is set on the great Tao. However, even if I don't have any thoughts, I still have to express my feelings. The demon Arch and Shiha represented the sun and moon, and they were a heavenly marriage. As the demon emperor, he had to express his feelings after hearing about this. Sun Yuan's expression also changed. Ziwei, you found the moon god position? Isn't the demon emperor aware of it? Also, the celestial arch is willing to make it happen, heavenly monarch Ziwei said with a smile. Demon emperor. Sun Yuan looked at Jiang Changkong. He didn't care about the heavenly god of justice, but the moon god was related to the demon empress. Jiang Changkong stared at heavenly monarch Ziwei. I should have kidnapped her and brought her to the demon race. Demon emperor, you know her? Sun Yuan was shocked. Jiang Changkong said indifferently, Heavenly Court's fairy Yushua. He didn't mention this matter after returning, so the demon race didn't know about it. Demon emperor, what do you think? Heavenly monarch Ziwei asked indifferently. He sneered in his heart. I don't believe this little bird won't be tempted. It's not enough, Jiang Changkong said indifferently. Demon emperor, your appetite is a bit too big. Heavenly monarch Ziwei's expression darkened. The demon, the arch, has to consider the heavenly marriage. You can't move me even if you ask me. The sin of killing the heavenly god of justice is too great. No one can bear the consequences. Jiang Changkong said coldly. He was only a demon emperor, so he had no chance. He would be working for the demon arch, and the celestial arch would most likely not agree. If the heavenly god of justice was killed, only he, the heavenly monster of justice, could do it. If the others were killed, they would only offend the heavens. The heavenly god of justice was different. It was a competition between the heavenly courts, just like how the heavenly courts chose the celestial arch. What else does the demon emperor want? Heavenly monarch Ziwei frowned. The demon race is lacking in resources. Don't you think it's laughable that you want the demon race to work for you with just a few words? Jiang Changkong sneered. Since you're here, you should contribute some resources to me. Heavenly monarch Ziwei's expression darkened. 4th grade, forget about the 4th grade. Without the 5th grade, you're not worthy of my attention, Jiang Changkong said disdainfully. 105th grade, mid-grade immortal stones, Heavenly monarch Ziwei said. Killing a peak immortal lord is only worth this much. Heavenly monarch, are you playing with me? Jiang Changkong's expression darkened. Heavenly monarch Ziwei said indifferently. Someone will capture the heavenly god of justice and hand him over to the demon emperor. 10,000 peak 5th grade immortal stones and 1 million peak 4th grade immortal stones. Otherwise, there's no way. Demon emperor, how dare you? Heavenly monarch Ziwei laughed in anger. All you have to do is slit the heavenly god of justice's throat. You're asking for 10,000 peak 5th grade immortal stones, but you're asking for 1 million peak 4th grade immortal stones? Do you think our heavenly court's resources are limitless? Even if we can't use them all, we won't throw them to the demon race for nothing. To put it bluntly, we're here to make use of the demon race. Chapter 578. Inside the demon imperial palace, the haggling were extremely noisy. But neither side was angry, and Heavenly Monarch Wei didn't leave. In the end, the price was decided. 400 5th grade top immortal stones and 10,000 4th grade top immortal stones. There were also some resources and healing pills, but there were no golden pills. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei left angrily. He definitely didn't expect this Yao Emperor to dare to extort him. In order to confirm the cooperation, Heavenly Monarch Ziwei agreed and brought the marriage certificate with the celestial Thearchus seal. Sun Yuan said in a low voice, Yao Emperor, why don't you come to this marriage? Old Ape Jade Snow has seen it. It's a good match for the Yao Emperor. Jiang Changkong, fine, you're loyal to me. Not that Yao Emperor. Do you really think the Heavenly Court will marry Fairy Jade Snow to the Yao race? Jiang Changkong said disdainfully, the Heavenly Court just wants to use us to get rid of their Heavenly God of Justice. Isn't there the Celestial Thearchus marriage certificate? Sun Yuan frowned. Will the Celestial Thearch go back on his word? Why won't he go back on his word? He even dared to kill the Heavenly God of Justice. Why would he care about a marriage certificate? Jiang Changkong said, the Heavenly Court is crazy. They even killed their own Heavenly God of Justice. Sun Yuan sighed. Maybe it's because the Heavenly God of Justice is too fair. If he becomes stronger, the heavenly court will be dealt with by the heavenly god of justice. Jiang Chankong's eyes glinted coldly. His previous attitude was too righteous, and he wouldn't let go of anyone who was guilty. The heavenly court, on the other hand, had a bunch of guilty people. Not all of them were guilty, but at least half of them had to be killed. In such a situation, they had to choose an obedient heavenly god of justice. Then, should we go find the heavenly god of justice immediately, or wait for them to send the person over? Sun Yuan asked. Jiang Chankong smiled. Immortal Lord Sun, can you avoid the heavenly court's detection? That's not a problem. Although the heavenly court is powerful, I have my own methods, Sun Yuan said proudly. He paused and asked, what does the Yao Emperor want me to do? When Ziwei delivers the resources, I'll have to trouble you to deliver them to the heavenly god of justice, Immortal Lord, Jiang Chankong said. Demon King, this isn't appropriate, right? We just promised Ziwei. Sun Yuan was stunned. You've already negotiated with them and accepted the resources, yet you want me to deliver the resources to the heavenly god of justice? This was not the way to support the enemy. Could it be that their demon emperor really wanted to rope him in? Thinking of this, Sun Yuan asked, Demon Sovereign, do you still want to rope him in? It's even better to provide timely assistance. Besides, the heavenly god of justice doesn't have any conflict with the changes we've made. Sun Yuan panicked. But the demon emperor is also the heavenly god of justice. In the future, the winner and loser of the same immortal position would be decided, and even life and death would be decided. I've said it before. If he comes to the demon race, I'll be the demon emperor in peace. So what if I give him the celestial position? Jiang Chankong smiled faintly. Sun Yuan opened his mouth, but did not know what to say. It could only be said that their demon emperor's breadth of mind and bearing were not comparable to ordinary demons and humans. He has the potential to do great things, but no matter how he looked at it, it was a bit of an idiot. That heavenly god of justice most likely would not join the demon race. Moreover, the change in the demon race was only for them. Many powerful demons didn't even listen to the demon court. On the other side, Jiang Chankong had also arrived at the heavenly court's mind. As he digested Heavenly King Ziwei's information, a smile appeared on his face. Heavenly King Ziwei had delivered a total of 560,000 essences this time. Although it was not a lot, it was enough for him to reach initial success in his postnatal chaotic Tao body. It would also allow his Golden Crow Immortal Sutra to reach perfection. He had to thank Heavenly King Ziwei for this. Unfortunately, Heavenly King Ziwei didn't leak this information to his secondary body. He just told the secondary body to wait. When the time came, the secondary body would raise the blade and deal with him. Would Yu Shue go crazy if she heard that he was going to marry a demon? Jiang Chankong didn't tell his secondary body to spread this information. He was not that shameless. Looking at the mountain range in front of him, Jiang Chankong circulated his chaotic divine power and hid in the void. Hurry up, you bunch of trash. Go plant immortal herbs if you dare to slack off again. A series of angry roars sounded along with the sound of whips breaking through the air. Some of the miners had their flesh torn open. They didn't dare to make a sound and hurriedly sped up. Another one died here. Take him to plant immortal herbs, a deity said coldly. Yes. A celestial immortal supervisor dragged a corpse and quickly left. The celestial immortal supervisor carried the corpse through the forest and soon arrived at a place with dense immortal chi. The immortal artifacts here were so dense that they formed a mist. Ordinary immortals could save a lot of time just by taking a breath. Spirit herbs were planted in the mist. This was the herb field opened by the heavenly court. The herb field was covered by an immortal array, and there were 3 deities here. Exalted Immortal, another one died. The celestial immortal supervisor said respectfully as he put down the corpse. Put it down, a deity said lightly. The celestial immortal supervisor put down the corpse and left. That's a little low. Only 30 died in this month. The deity waved his hand and threw the corpse into the herb field. The array activated and the corpse began to decompose, turning into dense immortal chi. There aren't many immortals in the great wilderness now, and they still have to mine. We can only reduce the number of deaths, another deity said. Doesn't immortal king great wilderness send immortals over? The deity frowned. The deity explained, you can't blame immortal king great wilderness for this. Some people know that the power of heaven is awakening and want to take this opportunity to capture more. The three deities fell silent and stopped talking. They absorbed the immortal chi and cultivated. The heavenly court has disappointed me. The void fluctuated as a vast divine aura spread and enveloped the entire herb field. Crack! The divine aura landed and the herb field's array broke. The immortal herbs inside were also rapidly disintegrating. Immortal Lord? The three deities' expressions changed drastically. This is the herb field of the heavenly court. Who are you to dare provoke the heavenly court? One of the deities shouted coldly, using the heavenly court as his backer. Heavenly God of justice. Of course, you can also call me Immortal Lord of Justice. Chaos divine power surged and enveloped the three deities. Soul search. Shrill screams came from the chaos divine power, but they were restricted by Jiang Changkong within the herb field. The herb field's array collapsed, and the immortal herbs turned to dust. He could not be bothered with immortal herbs that were fed by immortals. The memories of the three deities made Jiang Changkong's expression turn extremely cold. Lu Xianfeng had told him, and he had guessed that the immortals here were not good people. Unexpectedly, the heavenly court secretly controlled the great wilderness and sent some immortals here to mine. Almost none of the immortals sent here could leave alive. Almost all of them died here. In the past, they would kill as many as they could. It was best if they died from exhaustion or even death. Their corpses were either pulled over to plant immortal herbs or refined into immortal pills. Recently, due to the awakening of the power of heaven, the heavenly court had privately informed the fiends. The fiends knew that this was their last chance, so they became even more frenzied and captured immortals. The number of immortal great wilderness immortal king had decreased greatly, so he could only reduce the supply here. That was why the previous conversation made the deities here unhappy. Chapter 579. As he digested the information, killing intent filled Jiang Changkong's heart. He turned into a beam of light and returned to the mine. In his memory, there was a late-stage immortal lord guarding this place. Inside the mine, the supervisors were still whipping the miners. Regardless of whether these miners worked hard or not, they were still being whipped. If not for the fact that the great wilderness celestial kingdom had fewer immortals, they would have been even more ruthless. Boom! The sun's divine might enveloped Jiang Changkong, but he was not in a hurry to take out the heavenly book of justice. The aura was also a mid-stage immortal lord, but it was only aimed at the supervisors and not the miners. Immortal Lord, it's an immortal lord. Cries of terror sounded. The heavenly court's immortals were horrified, and they frantically circulated their immortal power to resist. However, the strongest among them was only a celestial, and they could not withstand the aura of a mid-stage immortal lord. It's an immortal lord. A immortal lord is here to save us? The miners said excitedly. They were not targeted by the aura. This person was here to save them. What monster dares to attack the heavenly court's mine? A furious roar sounded, and a powerful divine might exploded from within the mine, instantly dispelling the sun's divine might. A middle-aged man stepped into the air, and his divine might surged. Immortal Tao laws manifested, and mysterious laws appeared in the air. Late-stage immortal lord. Heavenly court? How can a bunch of evil demons who kill the innocent be worthy of being part of the heavenly court? Jiang Changkong said coldly with his back facing the immortal lord. Kill the innocent? You can't say such things. These miners are all evil demons who have committed heinous sins. They are here to atone for their sins. As soon as he finished speaking, the late-stage immortal lord had already arrived behind Jiang Changkong, and a long saber slashed down. Divine light shone brilliantly, and the laws were boundless. It was as if a monarch of heaven and earth was sending down divine punishment. Sins are not determined by you. Jiang Changkong harumphed coldly and suddenly turned around. The chaotic heavenly I shone out. It's determined by this God, heavenly God of justice? Ah! The immortal lord's expression changed drastically when he saw his face, but it was already too late to dodge. Under the illumination of the heaven's eye, the saber light shattered, and the long saber broke. The immortal lord's body stiffened, and his body actually dissipated inch by inch. The fear of death engulfed the immortal monarch's heart, and he begged for mercy. Heavenly God of justice, please spare my life. We are all members of the heavenly court. I will definitely change in the future. If you have a next life, then change it yourself. Jiang Changkong snorted coldly, ignoring his pleas for mercy. Chaos divine power entered his body and began to search his soul. Murderous intent surged within him once again regarding the evil deeds of this immortal lord. However, this person was about to die, so he looked at the other memories. That fellow actually managed to reap a lot of benefits from this mine. Of course, he wasn't fishing for the heavenly court, he was fishing for the great wilderness. If there were no more people, he would look for the Huang. If there were no more resources, he would look for the Huang. Whatever he lacked, he would ask the Huang for it. As for the Huang, he would give whatever he had. As for the great desolation immortal king, he didn't care about this because the heavenly court would reward him with immortal king-level resources every year. From that immortal king's point of view, it was very worthwhile to use these ants and resources that he couldn't use to exchange for what he needed from the heavenly court. Immortal King Great Wilderness often came here to hang out with this immortal lord, hoping to enter the heavenly court. Jiang Changkong took out his spatial equipment and shone his chaos heavenly eye. Those who were guilty would be punished as they should be, and those who were innocent would be released. His luck wasn't bad. There were still 10 immortals here, and the remaining heaven immortals added up to 100. Although the heaven immortals didn't have their essence, chi, and spirit, they still had the power of heaven, so each of them had 100. After dealing with this, Jiang Changkong flew down, and his chaos divine power surged into the mine. Looking at the excited miners, he waved his hand and said, "Run for your lives. The people of the heavenly court will be here soon." "Thank you, heavenly God." The miners thanked him and didn't dare to stay any longer, and they all left. Jiang Changkong watched them leave, and he used his chaos divine power to dig out immortal stones and collect the immortal stones they dug out. One had to say that the quality of this mine was quite good. However, the heavenly court was faster, and he didn't dare to stay any longer. In just 15 minutes, he left. Before leaving, Jiang Changkong directly destroyed the mine with a slap. It wasn't bad to leave some trouble for them. Far away from the mine, Jiang Changkong suppressed the heavenly book, immortal position, and immortal record, so that the heavenly court couldn't sense him. Jiang Changkong changed and headed to the nearest city in the great wilderness, Cloud Desolate City. After finding a random inn to stay in, Jiang Changkong began to count his harvest this time. From the mine and the immortals, his harvest this time was very bountiful. These immortals could almost do whatever they wanted in the great wilderness celestial kingdom, taking whatever they wanted. They were even more overbearing than local tyrants. There were 23 mid-grade, 5th-grade immortal stones, and 16 low-grade immortal stones. 4th-grade immortal stones, 1,000 top-grade immortal stones, 3,000 high-grade immortal stones, 6,000 mid-grade immortal stones, and none low-grade immortal stones. The heavenly court's immortals didn't care about low-grade immortal stones. There were also some 3rd-grade immortal stones, but he ignored them as they were of no help to him. Essence, spirit, and energy, 256,200. This didn't include the harvest from the previous law enforcement. Before breaking through, this would be more than 5 million. It was much more than the harvest from the Heavenly River Celestial Kingdom's mine. The Heavenly Court was synonymous with wealth. Looking at his essence, spirit, and energy, he already had 577,000. Jiang Changkong decided to stay in this inn for a few days and observe the situation. From the immortal lord's memories, he learned that the heavenly court indeed had the intention to set up a trap in the great wilderness celestial kingdom. If there was a chance, he wanted to see how big the heavenly court's formation was this time. At the same time, he would also wait for his secondary body and Sun Yuan to come over and give him resources. Closing his eyes, Jiang Changkong began to improve his chaotic Tao body. The green light in his body became denser, and there was a mysterious aura. His pure strength and defense also increased. His muscles bulged, and traces of ferocious aura spread out, but he suppressed it. If he let go of the transformation, his chaotic Tao body would be like those ancient ferocious beasts. Half a day passed, and the chaotic Tao body successfully transformed. The ferocious aura was restrained, and his muscles returned to normal. The green light also hid in his body. Jiang Changkong, late stage Immortal Lord, Divine Lord. 5th Transformation Mystic Art. Initial success, 1/900 000 postnatal chaotic Tao body. Initial success, 1/900 000 Golden Crow Immortal Sutra. Desheng. 1/337500 Essence, Spirit, Energy. 278332. If every heavenly court stronghold could give him such a huge harvest, then he would soon be able to fight an immortal king. Of course, it was not Heavenly King Ziwei. Heavenly King Ziwei's strength was at the peak of the immortal king level, just a step away from becoming an immortal emperor. On the other hand, Sky River Immortal King and Great Wilderness Immortal King were only early-stage immortal kings. Soon, he would be able to kill Sky River and Great Wilderness Immortal King. I'll stay here for a few days and see the situation of the Great Wilderness Immortal Kingdom. Jiang Changkong's chaotic divine power spread out and hid in the void. Some chaotic divine power found some immortals and entered them to search their souls. The situation of the Great Wilderness Immortal Kingdom appeared in his mind. Some immortals were powerless to do anything about the Great Wilderness, but most of them were sucking up to the immortals of the Heavenly Court. Even Sky Immortals could become the guests of the immortals. He destroyed the mine, and those immortals had caused great harm to this place. If he went out and shouted now, the immortals of the Heavenly Court would descend. Most of the residents in the city would hide in their houses and tremble. The Heavenly Court is filled with sinners. If they really rule the celestial world, then it will be the true doomsday. Chapter 580. Although Jiang Changkong wasn't a righteous person, he still wanted to pave the way for his friends. He didn't want Su Qianhuan and the others to ascend. Before they could experience the beauty of the celestial world, they would be refined into an immortal pill. He also didn't want to be a dog forever. Now, he had completely fallen out with the Heavenly Court. Although they said they would fight to the death, it wasn't to that extent yet. The Heavenly Court now saw him as a troublesome ant. If he was forced into a corner and Heavenly Monarch Ziwei personally killed him, or a bunch of immortal kings and immortal emperors appeared, he would definitely be dead. He didn't have the right to fight to the death with the Heavenly Court. For days passed in the blink of an eye. Jiang Changkong received a lot of information. His secondary body had come with Sun Yuan. After the mine was destroyed, a group of Heavenly Court immortals started to search nearby. There were immortals in the city, and Jiang Changkong was also interrogated. The method left by Heavenly the Archhao Tian was very useful and helped him hide from the Heavenly Court's inspection. Meanwhile, Sun Yuan and his secondary body came to the city in disguise, wandered around, and left. Jiang Changkong's figure melded into the void, leaving this place and vanishing. In a mountain range, the secondary body and Sun Yuan sat on a tree. Sun Yuan said, "Demon Emperor, the Heavenly Court's Heavenly God of Justice really knows how to hide. He still hasn't been found. This Heavenly God of Justice is very powerful. I value him more and more." The secondary body smiled. "But we still can't find him," Sun Yuan said. "It's enough if he comes looking for us. The judicial immortal position will definitely draw his attention, allowing him to sense it." The second body said indifferently. Sun Yuan frowned. "Old Ape still feels that we're taking too big a risk this time. This heavenly god of justice has become stronger too quickly. It is indeed very risky. The void fluctuated, and Jiang Changkong appeared. The demon race's demon monarch personally led me out. It is truly my honor. Demon Emperor, be careful. Sun Yuan's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly stood in front of the secondary body. The secondary body waved his hand fearlessly. The heavenly god of justice is a sensible person. He won't do anything stupid. Both of you have done well. Previously at the Sky River, the Demon Emperor let me off. Today, I will not make things difficult for the Demon Emperor. Jiang Changkong said indifferently. Tell me your purpose in coming here. This is the fee that old bastard Zi Wei asked me to use to kill you. The second body waved his hand and threw the resources to him. Oh, what does the demon sovereign mean? Jiang Changkong frowned and pretended not to know. I don't want to kill you. I still want you to come to the monster race and become the heavenly god of justice. The clone chuckled. Sun Yuan still looked at him warily, in case Jiang Changkong suddenly attacked. There's no need to join the demon race. The East Sea can't be protected. Jiang Changkong waved his hand and put away the resources. This god will accept these things. In the future, if the demon sins are not serious, this god can let them go for now. You've learned to be flexible? Sun Yuan was slightly taken aback. In the past, the heavenly god of justice would arrest anyone who committed a crime. Jiang Changkong said indifferently. This god said that the sins are not serious. If the sins are serious, I won't give you a chance to repent. Generally, those who did not commit serious sins were not considered evil demons. Those who committed serious sins were either sentenced to death or had their cultivation base lowered. Those who committed ordinary crimes were sent to the heavenly prison. He could not return to the heavenly court now. Since that was the case, what was the point? Create a heavenly prison and imprison him? Heavenly god of justice, do you want to talk alone? The clone asked. Demon sovereign. Sun Yuan became nervous. Why did the demon sovereign invite him to talk alone? Right now, the heavenly god of justice was stronger than him. If the demon sovereign has the guts, then I will accompany you, Jiang Changkong said. Immortal Lord's son, there's no need to follow me. I have some matters to deal with. It'll be fine to talk to him. The deputy gave some instructions and left with Jiang Changkong. Jiang Changkong's current strength had already surpassed Sun Yuan's. Coupled with the heavenly emperor's abilities, even if he sneaked up to Sun Yuan, he would not be able to detect him. Of course, he had nothing to talk about with the clone. He just wanted to improve the clone's strength. After consuming a recovery immortal pill, Jiang Changkong's divine power recovered and he left. The clone returned to Sun Yuan's side, and the two of them left. After the clone left, Jiang Changkong created another clone. I have to use the Elder Lord's immortal pill sparingly, Jiang Changkong murmured. The quality of this immortal pill was too good. One would be able to recover most of his divine power. This clone should be enough. Coupled with the aura of the immortal book, it will be fine if it is leaked. Jiang Changkong sized up the clone and began to improve his strength. He wanted to upgrade the Golden Crow Immortal Sutra to perfection. He improved the laws of the sun, and the Golden Crow appeared. Each Golden Crow projection was an immortal Tao law's profundity. If there were immortals who cultivated the laws of the sun who were weaker than him, they would be able to improve greatly if they could comprehend it. The changes in the laws of the sun lasted for a full 12 hours. Jiang Changkong stabilized his cultivation and concealed his aura. A smile appeared on his face. Golden Crow Immortal Sutra reached perfection. Jiang Changkong, Peak Immortal Lord, Divine Lord. 5th Revolution Mystic Art. Initial success. 1/900 000 Postnatal Chaotic Tao Body. 1/900 000 Golden Crow Immortal Sutra. Desheng. 1/1012500 Essence. Energy, Spirit. 511632 feeling the vast divine power in his body. He couldn't kill an early-stage immortal king yet, but it wouldn't be long. With a thought, the clone returned to Cloud Desolate City, and his main body left the Great Wilderness. Now that the Great Wilderness had become a sinkhole, If his main body was discovered, he would die. He suppressed his immortal position and immortal book, so the heavenly court was blind and could only think of other ways to find him. After the main body left, the clone's aura quickly dissipated. Not long after, the place where the aura was leaked welcomed a sky full of immortals. Find him, even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground. You have to find him. A roar resounded through the sky. Should I go to the Zhen Yuan celestial sect? Jiang Changkong pondered. The clone attracted the heavenly court's attention. Then should he go to the Zhen Yuan celestial sect? Or the next stronghold? Then the next stronghold. Since the heavenly court can't find me for the time being, the only thing I need to worry about is the East Sea. Jiang Changkong sighed. If Heavenly King Ziwei used the East Sea to threaten him, he really didn't know what to do. He had to think of a way to let the monsters extend their hands into the East Sea. Only then would the Heavenly Court not dare to use the East Sea to threaten him. If the Heavenly Court dared to do so, the little Dragon King could join the monsters and receive their protection. This time, I have to change my aura too. After all, I still have to play with them. I can't expose my main body. Jiang Changkong looked in the direction of the Heavenly Court stronghold in the distance with cold eyes. The information given by Lu Xianfeng was very clear. The Immortal Lord here was a peak Immortal Lord. Although there was no Celestial Kingdom here, there was a 5th-grade mine. Along the way, he met many immortals who were looking for him. There were also some roulette-like treasures in their hands. Come out! A late-stage divine immortal shouted coldly and slapped the void where Jiang Changkong was. Jiang Changkong's expression changed slightly. He revealed a smile and said respectfully, "Great Immortal, I'm just passing by. So you're just an early-stage divine immortal. Have you seen the Heavenly Justice God before?" asked the late-stage divine immortal coldly. "Great Immortal, I've never seen him before." Jiang Changkong lowered his head. His appearance had already changed and was concealed. "You've never seen him before? Then you're useless. You can have him. It's not bad to refine a golden core." The late-stage divine immortal looked at a mid-stage divine immortal beside him. Jiang Changkong's expression darkened. He didn't expect that the Heavenly Court's immortals would be this crazy. Are they taking advantage of this last chance to fish for resources? Or is the Heavenly Varch planning to kill everyone who disagrees? Chapter 581. An extremely cold air swept out. Be it immortals or celestial immortals, all of them were frozen. "Evil creature, how dare you provoke the Heavenly Court?" A cold roar could be heard, accompanied by a mighty immortal might. A giant figure arrived at the scene from the distance. The power was shocking. The laws of the immortal Tao filled the void. "Intermediate high immortal?" Jiang Changkong glanced at it, and the moon chi shot out. The immortal Tao laws were sealed in ice, and the giant figure was sealed in ice as well. Opening the heavenly scroll in his body was a capital offense. Boom! After the soul's search, the ice sculpture shattered and turned into ashes. Jiang Changkong's figure disappeared as he quickly left. The power of heaven arrived. 1 immortal lord, 5 immortals, plus their own essence, chi, and spirit, amounted to more than 100,000 essence, chi, and spirit. If he could destroy the heavenly court, his strength would probably rise to an unimaginable level. Unfortunately, he couldn't do it now. Their spatial equipment, on the other hand, was so poor that it did not match their status. They only had 10,000 points of essence, chi, and spirit in total. Not long after he left, several immortal lords arrived, but they could only feel the remnant cold air. Coupled with the information that the secondary body had previously leaked, they did not connect it to Jiang Changkong. As Jiang Changkong flew, he did not forget to organize his memories. The Sky River Immortal Monarch had brought 2 pinnacle Immortal Monarch marshals to the Great Wilderness. This time, in order to kill him, the 2 Celestial Kings had chosen to join forces. Heavenly River Immortal Monarch, since that's the case, your god shall not hold back then. Jiang Changkong scoffed coldly and increased his speed. Most of the resources of the Sky River Celestial Kingdom were in the hands of the Sky River Celestial Monarch. However, there was still a portion of it in the treasury of the Sky River Celestial Kingdom. Since the Sky River Immortal King came all the way to the great wilderness to deal with him. If that was the case, he could make use of the opportunity to raid the Sky River Immortal Emperor's nest. Thinking of this, Jiang Changkong hurried on with all his might. The rank, 5 mineral vein strongholds layout was almost the same as the previous one. If there was a medicinal field, even if an immortal died, he would squeeze it dry. Apart from medicinal fields, there were also some immortal fruit trees, which were also cultivated with the corpses of immortals. A group of immortals were whipping a supervisor while enjoying a sweet immortal fruit. Are these fruits delicious? Cold words resounded, and a bone-chilling cold enveloped the area where the mine was located. The heavenly book in his body also sentenced them to death. Before the foreman could even react, they had already turned into ice sculptures. What kind of monster are you? Angry shouts rang out one after another as more than 10 surges of divine might spread out. A vast figure stepped into the sky with the power of the law of heaven and earth. You die, Jiang Changkong said coldly. However, he was stunned the next moment. This immortal lord's merits outweighed his faults. Heavenly Tao, are you blind? Jiang Changkong really wanted to pull out Heavenly Tao and rub it against the ground. Capturing immortals and using immortals to cultivate immortal herbs and immortal fruits was a heinous crime, but the merits actually outweighed the demerits. In fact, the Heavenly Tao was not blind. The fact that the high immortal before him had done something meritorious to the heavens in the past could only mean that the high immortal before him had done something meritorious to the heavens. For example, the elders who followed the celestial arch to conquer the world in the heavenly court. Their establishment of the heavenly court was a great achievement. The immortal monarch pinnacle had no idea what Zhang Xian was thinking. For immortals who were courting death, Zhang Xian would naturally cut down their fruit trees or concoct pills for them. Down below, the 13 immortals unleashed their power and executed shocking immortal arts. Fortunately, these 13 immortals were sentenced to death. If their merits outweighed the demerits, Jiang Changkong would be so angry that he would beat them up. The moon chi covered the sky and earth, and even the void was sealed in ice. Terrifying moon chi. The immortal monarch pinnacle's expression changed drastically. His immortal Tao laws were actually no match for the moon chi. Could it be that the person before him was a Taiyin immortal king? Jiang Changkong suppressed the heavenly book and sealed the attacks of the immortals with one palm. He also sealed the 13 immortals. He only sealed them, not killed them. Crack! Under the moon chi, the immortal monarch pinnacle used the immortal power in his body to resist the power of ice. Unfortunately, Jiang Changkong's strength had already far surpassed the immortal monarch realm. After struggling for a while, the immortal monarch pinnacle was turned into an ice sculpture. Endless frost energy invaded his body, searching his memories and cutting off his life force. It really is an old immortal lord who conquered the world with the celestial arch. Jiang Changkong's gaze was slightly cold. Unfortunately, without the power of heaven, this immortal lord's essence, chi, and spirit were pitifully little. However, this guy was also rich. These years, he had killed many immortal lords, and even dared to eat a portion of the celestial thearch's mine. The 13 immortals were turned to dust. Endless moon chi descended into the mine and dug out the immortal stones. As for the heaven immortals below, Jiang Changkong did not let go of them. There were also 100 of them, 10,000 power of heaven. He lifted the restrictions on the miners and let them out. As for whether they could escape the pursuit of the heavenly courts, that was not something he could care about. Even if they stayed here, they would only die. 5th grade immortal stones flew out one by one. Because time was tight, he only dug out the top 5th grade immortal stones. This mine was still very rich. In 15 minutes, he dug out close to 200. After doing all this, he used the moon chi to freeze the place and went to the herb field. There were still 2 immortals guarding it. After leaving the mine, Jiang Changkong went straight to the Sky River Celestial Kingdom. On the other side, his secondary body released a trace of aura again and quickly left. He planned to let his secondary body go to the capital of the great wilderness celestial kingdom. The passageway to the heavens was usually not set up in the capital of a celestial kingdom. The immortal king would not be at ease if his secondary body led them there. Even if the Sky River immortal king borrowed the passageway from the heavenly courts, he would not be able to return to the Sky River celestial kingdom in a short time. He had enough time to flatten the capital of the Sky River celestial kingdom. Deep in the endless mountains, Jiang Changkong was counting his harvest. Although the peak immortal lord did not bring him any power of heaven, he had gained a lot. Because of him taking the lead, the 13 immortals more or less also gained some. 5th grade immortal stones, 365 top grade immortal stones, 216 top grade immortal stones. 5th grade immortal stones, 600 top grade immortal stones, 500 top grade immortal stones. There were no other quality immortal stones. These guys were all the best. They did not care about those that were too low grade. It was the same for mid-stage immortal gods. They had been developing here for a long time. They only obtained 1 or 2 at a time, but after a few times, they accumulated. Coupled with their daily cultivation consumption, this was all they had left. Essence, Qi, Spirit, 249,800. Looking at his essence, Qi, Spirit, it had already reached 1,030,000. Should he complete the Golden Crow immortal scripture first, or choose the 5 revolutions mysterious art? After pondering for a moment, Jiang Changkong found a mountain and went into seclusion. This time, he cultivated the Golden Crow immortal scripture to the limit. In the future, he would focus on the 5 transformations mystic art and the acquired chaotic Taoist body. Moreover, improving the Golden Crow celestial scripture would also improve the power of the Demon Emperor. When he left the Sky River immortal kingdom, he would leave behind an incarnation to replenish his Demon Emperor cultivation. A Demon Emperor at the Immortal Lord realm should be able to give Heavenly Monarch Ziwei a pleasant surprise. At that time, he would ruthlessly extort a sum of money. After thinking it through, Jiang Changkong focused his energy on the Golden Crow immortal scripture. The law of the sun rose again, and the Golden Crow's profound meaning surged into his mind. Jiang Changkong suppressed his aura to the extreme, not letting any of it leak out. This time, the upgrade did not take too long. It only took 3 hours. Just a little more, and he would be able to step into the Immortal King realm. The current him should still be a distance away from becoming an Immortal King. It was just that he did not know how big the gap was. Sensing the energy in his body, the jade token that Lu Xianfeng had given him lit up and a voice could be heard. Heaven God, I found some information about the 3 seas and the underworld. Chapter 582. Heavenly God, we returned to the immortal sect of Zhen Yuan and found news about the 3 seas and the underworld. Lu Xuanfeng's voice reached them. You've reached the immortal sect of Zhen Yuan so quickly. Jiang Changkong was a little taken aback. It had only been a few days, and they had already arrived? We were lucky. We ran into an immortal king elder of the sect, and he brought us back. Lu Xianfeng explained, pausing before adding, Heavenly God, you must be prepared for news about the 3 seas and the underworld. Could it be worse than the Eastern Sea? Jiang Changkong asked. The immortal sect of Zhen Yuan was powerful and had a deep foundation. An immortal king expert could already establish a great country and establish his own sect. However, they could only hold the position of an elder in the immortal sect of Zhen Yuan, and there was no guarantee that they would succeed. Countless immortal kings had tried their best to join the immortal sect of Zhen Yuan, only to be rejected. The disciples of the immortal sect of Zhen Yuan paid more attention to character and state of mind. When the heavenly will was not around, they would insist on purging demons and evil and not commit any evil. When the heavenly will returned, they would seclude themselves in the mountains and focus on cultivation. Just like Zhen Yuan Zi, the immortal sect of Zhen Yuan had always been focused on the Tao. In comparison, the Penglai sect only cared about their own Tao and did not care about anything else. Jiang Changkong felt a little uneasy at Lu Xuanfeng's words. It's very bad. The 3 seas have become the Dead Sea, and there are terrible killing intents within. Even immortal kings would not survive if they fell into it. Lu Xianfeng said somberly. The Dead Sea? Jiang Changkong did a double take. What about the Dragon King? Heavenly God, it's the Dead Sea because there's no Dragon King. Lu Xianfeng smiled bitterly and explained, true dragons are the spirits of the oceans, and the oceans would become the Dead Sea once all of them die. The Dragon King of the Eastern Sea might very well be the last true dragon. Does that mean the Dragon King is very important? Jiang Changkong asked thoughtfully. He is very important if the Eastern Sea exists. The Immortal Sect Scripture Pavilion does not have a complete record. There is something that could replace the Dragon King, but there is no record of what it is. Lu Xianfeng replied. Jiang Changkong pondered for a moment and then asked, what's the situation in hell? The underworld has already separated itself from the world of immortals. Unless a powerful expert opens the gates of the underworld, no one can enter it. Lu Xuanfeng's voice deepened. There's one more thing. According to the records, the underworld suffered a calamity, but the details are unclear. Jiang Changkong's heart was heavy. It seemed that he couldn't count on the Yellow Springs bloodline this time. When he was in the mortal world, he sealed himself for many years and preserved his strength. But this time, the underworld had suffered a calamity, and it was unknown whether or not immortal Yellow Springs still existed. I will organize this information. When the Empyrean God comes to the Zhan Yuan celestial sect, you can check it yourself. Lu Xianfeng said. Many thanks, Jiang Changkong replied. He then stood up and left for the Sky River Immortal Kingdom. Jiang Changkong hurried on with all his might. This time, he didn't deal with the demons along the way. In order to prevent himself from being discovered, he had to take a detour. A day later, Jiang Changkong arrived at the Sky River Immortal Kingdom. He released his sub-body and headed for the demon court. After consuming a pill to recover, Jiang Changkong, who was about to take a breather, trembled slightly. On the other side, on the way to the capital of the Great Wilderness Kingdom, immortal light shone brightly. Immortal Tao laws sealed the void, and figures descended majestically. Jiang Changkong, your path is over. A peerless king, wearing a dragon robe, immortal king laws vast and boundless, sealed the void. Beside him, there were two peak immortal lords. The golden heavenly river was mighty, lifting them up. Sky River Immortal King. On the left, a desolate aura swept. Also immortal king laws, the aura not weak at all. Great Wilderness Immortal King. On the other side, an immortal king, wearing a black immortal robe, exuded a terrifying, baleful aura. Jiang Changkong felt the aura of an immortal king from him. Heavenly Court Immortal King. 3 immortal kings? How did you guys find me? Jiang Changkong's expression was cold. He kept leaking his aura, and he finally attracted them. Your methods are indeed strange. You hide your aura, and we can't find you, but we can make all the living beings here leave. Great Wilderness Immortal King raised his eyelids, like a high and mighty emperor, and said indifferently, didn't you notice that there are no living beings here? Jiang Changkong's expression became calm again. He thought that there was some special method that could locate and track them. So it turned out that they wanted everyone to leave. These living beings should have been under their control long ago. If he had known this, he would have searched their souls more and killed more. Maybe he could have fooled them. As if seeing through his thoughts, the black-robed immortal king said coldly, you can't escape. I'd rather kill the wrong person than let them go. You're not the first person that the heavenly court can't find. Jiang Changkong's mouth twitched. You guys are really ruthless. As long as it's uncertain, you kill them all? Pajuan Immortal King. Who will do it? Sky River Immortal King looked at the black-robed Immortal King. Pajuan looked at Jiang Changkong in disdain. You're just an ant. Do you need to do anything? Kneel. With a cold shout, the laws of the immortal Tao surged, and the might of an immortal king engulfed Jiang Changkong. A terrifying pressure swept over, and Jiang Changkong's body trembled. This Pajuan Immortal King was definitely not an early-stage Immortal King. He was trying to suppress him with his divine might. However, he was only a divine power clone. If he suffered an attack that was too powerful, he would immediately dissipate. Pajuan, I will remember you. Under the terrifying pressure, Jiang Changkong's expression was hideous. He was in extreme pain, and his body started to crack. Not good. He wants to commit suicide. Sky River Immortal King and Great Wilderness Immortal King's expressions changed at the same time. Jiang Changkong was the heavenly god of justice. If he died in front of them, they would all have to bear the responsibility when the heavenly Tao returned. Do you think you can die in front of me? Pajuan Immortal King shouted coldly. A towering immortal light burst forth and engulfed Jiang Changkong. The immortal light contracted and turned into a black bead, sealing the clone inside. Congratulations, Pajuan Immortal King, for taking down the traitor of the heavenly court. Sky River Immortal King cupped his fists. Great Wilderness Immortal King also cupped his fists. You have made a great contribution. You are not far from becoming a monarch. Pajuan Immortal King revealed a joyful expression. Although he was an immortal king, he was not a heavenly monarch in the heavenly court. After this, the heavenly Tharch would probably confer him the title of Heavenly Monarch Pajuan, right? Why don't you come to the Great Wilderness Immortal King? I have already set up a banquet to celebrate. Great Wilderness Immortal King said. No, I still have to return to Heavenly Monarch Zi-Wei. Pajuan Immortal King declined. On the other side, Jiang Changkong arrived at the capital of the Heavenly River Celestial Kingdom. Something had happened to his secondary body, and he could not delay any longer. Boundless divine might burst forth, and chaotic divine power spread, covering the entire Heavenly River City. Rumble. Lightning surged in the sky, chaotic divine power wreaked havoc, and Heavenly River City was collapsing. The heavenly book circulated, and the chaotic heavenly eye shone down, covering the entire Heavenly River City with gray divine light. The Heavenly River Celestial Kingdom is defiled. It was as if doomsday had arrived. The living beings in Heavenly River City screamed in horror. One figure after another ran wildly through the city to avoid the collapsing buildings. All the immortals, heaven immortals, and human immortals howled in pain. Some of their cultivation levels dropped, and some were directly turned into dust. Dazzling golden light burst forth from the Heavenly River Celestial Kingdom Imperial Palace, and a golden barrier rapidly expanded. Sky-splitting technique. Boundless chaotic turbulence surged, and the sky-splitting technique was unleashed. A mysterious light distorted the void, as if it was going to tear apart the space of the celestial world. Boom! The mysterious light fell, and the golden barrier exploded. Chapter 583. Sinister Demon. The sinister demon has descended. Cries of terror caused the entire Heavenly River City to descend into chaos. Under the mysterious light, the protective barrier was broken. The palace collapsed, and the palace was shattered. The light from the heavenly eye illuminated the entire city. Anyone who is guilty would be put on trial. You dare to cause trouble in the Heavenly River Celestial Kingdom? Die. An enraged roar echoed. Celestial light shone brilliantly as a figure roared and soared into the sky. It's the heavenly spirit, Great Marshal. This sinister demon is dead for sure. We're saved. An excited voice sounded. The terrified crowd and the immortals in the city gradually calmed down. Boom! Boundless chaotic energy surged in the gigantic hand. The law of chaos shuttled back and forth in the giant hand, forming mysterious patterns. The mysterious chaotic hand descended. The heavenly spirit, Great Marshal's immortal aura dimmed as he was knocked down by the giant hand. Rumble. The chaotic energy surged and swept across 10,000 kilometers. The entire Heavenly River City was destroyed. Whoosh! Golden water flowed, and a golden figure appeared. Evil creature, how dare you destroy my heavenly river? The golden figure roared furiously. A sword projection soared into the sky like the heavenly river. Heavenly River Immortal Monarch, I'll leave if your main body comes. But a clone? How laughable. A domineering figure descended with boundless chaotic energy. The heavenly river sword projection crumbled, and the chaotic energy surged. The heavenly river immortal monarch's projection trembled and showed signs of being destroyed. Your heavenly god, Jiang Changkong of justice? The heavenly river immortal monarch's projection was shocked. Wasn't the heavenly god of justice captured by his main body? Why did he come here? Do you think I don't know how to create clones? Jiang Changkong sneered, and the giant chaotic hand descended again. Die. The heavenly river immortal monarch roared. Even though he was only a clone, he was not an ordinary peak immortal lord. He believed that his clone would be able to kill Jiang Changkong. Unfortunately, that was only his belief. Boom! The giant chaotic hand tore the clone apart and shattered the heavenly river sword projection. The heavenly river immortal monarch's projection slowly dissipated with a shocked expression. I'll gladly accept the Milky Way treasury. Jiang Changkong waved his palm, and the celestial river immortal monarch's projection completely dissipated. His current strength had far surpassed the pinnacle high immortal. If he were to use the heaven-splitting art, even the sky river immortal emperor might not be able to withstand it. His clone was only slightly stronger than an ordinary heavenly high immortal. After destroying the sky river deity emperor's shadow, Jiang Changkong's figure flickered and he arrived at the palace's treasury. He didn't even look at the things inside and took them all away. A few minutes later, Jiang Changkong packed up the entire treasury and left Tiana City. The other side, the Sky River Immortal Monarch was already aware of what had happened in the Heavenly River City, and he was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Jiang Changkong, this king will kill you. The Sky River Immortal Monarch's roar shook the entire great wilderness Immortal Kingdom. Sky River Immortal King, what happened? Great Wilderness Immortal King asked curiously. After Pajuan Immortal King left, the two of them exchanged toasts at the banquet. Unexpectedly, this Sky River Immortal King suddenly exploded. Jiang Changkong went to this king's Heavenly River Immortal Kingdom. The Sky River Immortal King clenched his fists with a dark expression. The entire Great Wilderness Imperial Palace shook. What? Didn't Jiang Changkong get captured? Great Wilderness Immortal King exclaimed. They were the ones who captured him. Could it be that it was fake? That's just a clone. Damn it, this king wants to go back. The Sky River Immortal King gritted his teeth. Sky River, it's too late to go back now. The fastest way is to borrow a path from the Heavenly Court. Contacting the Heavenly Court is the most important thing. Great Wilderness Immortal King pulled on the Sky River Immortal King and took out a jade token to send a message. Fake. This is fake. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei looked at the black bead with Jiang Changkong sealed within it. The heavenly god of justice inside was just a clone. Pajuan Immortal King's body trembled, and his expression changed slightly. How could this be? I personally captured him. If it's a clone, why can't I tell? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's expression was dark. He couldn't tell either. This was too strange. The Heavenly Court's heavenly god of justice was able to deceive them with just a clone? Was the immortal title that miraculous? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's heart burned with excitement as he thought of the immortal title. This king is going to make a trip. If he couldn't tell, then he would let the heavenly monster of the demon race take a look. If it really was because of the immortal title, it definitely wouldn't be able to deceive the demon emperor. Heavenly Monarch, the Sky River Nation? Pajuan Immortal King asked. Go there yourself. If this is fake, then you'll have to face the consequences yourself. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei glanced at him coldly before quickly leaving. Yes, I will definitely capture Jiang Changkong. Pajuan Immortal King's expression shifted slightly, and a cold glint flashed in his lowered eyes. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei went down to the Ao High Nation, Demon Imperial Palace. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei, you captured Jiang Changkong? Sun Yuan sat in the Demon Imperial Palace and looked at the black bead in Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's hand. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's expression was unsightly, and he took out the bead. Demon Emperor, please take a look and see if this is Jiang Changkong's main body. The deputy glanced at it before scoffing. Capturing a clone? Does this count as me taking action? It really is a clone? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's expression darkened. How did the Demon Emperor determine this? Is it an immortal title? The deputy was still thinking about how to fool Heavenly Monarch Ziwei when he heard this. That's right. We both have immortal titles of justice, so we can sense each other. The black bead in Heavenly Monarch Ziwei's hand slowly disappeared. Jiang Chankong's clone appeared, but it disintegrated into wisps of divine power before disappearing into the air. Damn it! Heavenly Monarch Ziwei was completely enraged upon seeing this. It really was a clone. The Heavenly Court and the two immortal kingdoms had all been tricked by Jiang Chankong. I really am doubtful about the Heavenly Court's ability. The deputy shook his head with disdain. This Jiang Chankong is able to conceal his aura and evade the Heavenly Court's detection. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei looked at him. Does the Demon Emperor have a way to resolve this? Even your Heavenly Court can't do anything, so what can I do? Jiang Chankong stood up and said indifferently, "It would have been better to just serve the Heavenly God of Justice. Why did it have to become like this?" Heavenly Monarch Ziwei harumphed coldly. If the Demon Emperor dares to enforce the law in the demon race, the demon race won't let you live. Who says they won't? The ancient divine ape will always stand by the Demon Emperor's side, Sun Yuan said. Their mountain of flowers and fruits had always been cultivating in seclusion and had never done anything wrong. The immortal title of justice was completely out of their reach. The deputy smiled. Heavenly Monarch, are you saying that the Heavenly Court is no good? In that case, should this emperor go up and take a look? I will bring Jiang Chankong here. Don't think too much about it, Demon Emperor. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei turned and left. The Heavenly Court had too deep a connection with the sinister devils. In order to ensure that the Heavenly Court's troops wouldn't be harmed, the Heavenly Court should be allowed to perform meritorious deeds and wash away their sins. However, Jiang Chankong was directly enforcing the law and was not under their control. Rest in peace, Heavenly Monarch. Don't get played again, the deputy kindly reminded. This Heavenly God of Justice is quite capable. Sun Yuan chuckled. Demon Emperor, we still can't interfere with the East Sea. Take your time. This Heavenly Monarch Ziwei will come and beg me again. The deputy chuckled coldly. Chapter 584. Jiang Chankong left Sky River Celestial Kingdom and headed towards Zhen Yuan Celestial Sect. Heavenly Court ruled a huge area, but there was no place for him to stay. After raiding Sky River Celestial King's lair, he must have gone crazy. Even if his secondary body was fake, Pajuan Celestial King would also go crazy. He didn't know what that person in Great Wilderness would do, but just 2 Celestial Kings were enough to make him exhausted. He counted the treasures of Sky River in this time's harvest. 1 great general of Sky Water, 50,000 heavens power. There were 7 celestials in the city, 70,000. There were about 300 heaven immortals, 30,000. There were more than 1,000 human immortals, 10,000. Then there was the harvest from the treasury. Grade 4 celestial stones, 1,000 top grade for 1,000 high grade. 8,000 medium grade, 13,000 low grade. There are no grade 5 ones. They should all be with Sky River Celestial King. Total essence energy spirit, 610,000. Apart from these, there were some celestial medicine and celestial pills without essence energy spirit, and they were all grade 4. The grade 5 resources were all with Sky River Celestial King. Just Sky River Celestial City had such a harvest. If he could deal with the entire Sky River Celestial Kingdom, he would at least be able to reach Deshang. Sky River Celestial Kingdom still had 2 great generals and 1 Celestial King. I'll be back. Now, he wouldn't go to Heavenly Court's stronghold. After destroying 2 mines, Heavenly Court would definitely strengthen their defenses. He would find evil demons and deal with them on the way. The Celestial King's heaven's power hadn't shrunk. If he dealt with 27 more, he would be able to level up. What the celestial world didn't lack were evil demons. Wherever Jiang Chankong went, he would search the souls of all living beings he encountered to find the nearby evil demons. Heavenly Court, Goddess Yushue, who had inherited the position of Moon Celestial, sat in the cold celestial palace. Goddess Xylan held her chin and looked at her curiously. Yushua, you are getting colder and colder. It's just the influence of the power of Een. Goddess Yushua smiled and said, Where's your master? Why don't I see him? Goddess Xylan looked around to find that figure. Wong. A ray of moonlight flashed, and a white-dressed fairy with a veil over her face appeared. It was Yazi Dojo, Moon God Soul. Master Moon God. Yushua hurriedly stood up and bowed. Fairy Xylan also saluted. Greetings, Moon Goddess. You are the new Moon Goddess. I am no longer one, the Moon Goddess said coldly. You are the great Moon God. Yushua is the little Moon God. Fairy Xylan held Yushua's arm and said with a smile, Two Moon Gods. The Moon Goddess didn't say anything. She looked at Fairy Violet Orchid. Within her body, a faint purple light was carefully hidden. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei failed again. Fairy Yushua heaved a forlorn sigh. The Heavenly God of Justice managed to escape. I really don't understand why Father wants to make things difficult for the Heavenly God of Justice. Fairy Xylan sighed helplessly. The Moon Goddess' voice was a little complicated. To become Emperor Ziwei. Is Emperor Ziwei that important? Fairy Violet Orchid asked in confusion. Heavenly King Ziwei has been stuck in the Immortal King realm for too long. The position of Emperor Ziwei is related to him becoming an immortal emperor. The Moon Goddess no longer looked at Fairy Violet Orchid, but inexplicably said, Once the immortal position has chosen a master, it will not be changed unless it is dead. You can't give it up yourself? Fairy Yushua asked. The Moon Goddess said, No, unless you are willing to commit a great sin and let the heavenly Tao destroy you. Otherwise, you can make the heavenly Tao change its mind. Then how do you make the heavenly Tao change its mind? The two girls asked curiously. Defeat the heavenly Tao. The two girls defeat the heavenly Tao? Wasn't this directly convincing with force? But in this world, who could defeat the supreme heavenly Tao? It was impossible. Forget it. Let's not think about this. Let's go to the East Sea to play with the little Dragon King. Fairy Xylan changed the topic. Master. Fairy Yushua looked at the Moon Goddess expectantly. Go. The Moon Goddess waved her hand and disappeared. Thank you, Master Moon Goddess. The two fairies left together and headed for the East Sea. The cold palace fell silent. A purple light appeared, and Heavenly Monarch Ziwei entered the palace. He cupped his hands and said, Ziwei requests an audience with the Moon Goddess. Why are you here? The voice was cold, and there was no sign of him. The Celestial Thearch's position, Ziwei's position. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei said, The ancient heavenly court has a great divine ability that can preserve the position. The Celestial Thearch asked me to come and ask. The Celestial Thearch's position needs to be condensed by oneself. The Celestial Thearch's position is equally honorable. I'm not sure, the Moon Goddess said coldly. Thank you, Moon Goddess. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei was overjoyed. It was equally honorable. Did this mean that he also had to condense it by himself? He was satisfied with this answer and quickly left. The Celestial Thearch has already asked. You came for yourself. Unfortunately, you are not fated to meet him. Only he could hear the cold words. Jiang Changkong had also discovered the heavenly God of justice, right? Since he didn't want to say it, he wouldn't point it out either. He would teach Yushua to become the new Moon Goddess. Jiang Changkong didn't know that the Moon Goddess Divine Soul had already ascended to the heavenly court and become Fairy Yushua's master. He traveled at full speed for 3 days and encountered 2 deity-level sinister devils. Unfortunately, these 2 sinister devils were very poor. Apart from the harvest brought by the power of heaven, there were no other treasures. However, the memories of one of them surprised him. It was an area where there was no birth, old age, sickness, and death. There were immortal medicines and flowers everywhere, and it was peaceful and peaceful. It was this area that attracted the nearby immortals and living beings. After entering, they didn't come out. They all stayed there, because in that place, they would forget all their troubles. There was no oppression, no sin. There were countless immortal medicines and flowers, and they could pick them at will. There was dense, immortal energy and endless, immortal stones. That place was called the Holy Land. When sinister devils went there, they would stop killing and return to kindness. The two sinister devils he killed also wanted to go to the Holy Land, but they didn't find the entrance to the Holy Land. They only knew the general area. Holy Land? Endless immortal stones? Jiang Chongkong wondered if the heavenly Tao sensed that he was fair and just, so it gave him some benefits. It wanted him to use the Holy Land and endless immortal stones to become a sage. He didn't think the heavenly Tao was that stupid. Whatever, I'll go look. If there are really a lot of immortal stones, then the heavenly river and immortal King Pajuan are not worth mentioning. Jiang Chongkong followed the memories of the sinister devils. An hour later, Jiang Chongkong came to a valley. The valley looked very ordinary. There were only a few weak creatures and spirit medicines that weren't at the immortal tier. If he hadn't searched his soul, he wouldn't have thought that this was the entrance to the Holy Land. Chaos divine power spread out and filled the entire valley. If the entrance to the Holy Land was really here, there was no way it could hide from him. He closed his eyes and sensed carefully. Everything in the valley appeared clearly in his mind. Suddenly, a special wave of void, immortal power came and attracted Jiang Chongkong's attention. It should be here. Jiang Chongkong came in front of a rock and reached out to press the void. There didn't seem to be anything unusual here. If not for his divine power, it would be difficult for him to sense that the entrance was here. Chaos divine power poured in, and a crack appeared in the space, forming a passage. At the end of the passage was a wide space. There were all kinds of living beings wandering in it, and immortal medicines and flowers were everywhere. Chapter 585. Immortal herbs, flowers, and immortal fruits hung on divine trees. The immortal chi was so dense that it formed a mist. This beautiful world was more like the celestial world than the celestial world. At the end of his line of sight was a divine palace that pierced through the clouds. Jiang Chongkong stepped into the passage and entered the Holy Land. The passage behind him disappeared, and all kinds of living beings looked at Jiang Chongkong without the slightest bit of fear or curiosity. They were very calm, traversing through the immortal herbs and flowers, strolling and having fun. Some were cultivating, guiding the immortal chi into their bodies. An invisible force came from the void and entered his body. The auspicious, peaceful, and warm aura calmed his heart. There was no killing intent, no anger, only calmness. Jiang Chongkong walked among the immortal herbs, and the special force kept entering his body. A strange emotion arose, and he did not want to leave this place, to stay here forever. A white rabbit passed by his feet, rubbed against his pants intimately, and ran away quickly. Holy Land, Jiang Chongkong murmured. Was this really a holy land? As he walked step by step, Jiang Chongkong looked at a human immortal, a mid-stage immortal lord. The heavenly book had manifested. This was an evil demon. It was a crime punishable by death. But under the influence of the special force, Jiang Chongkong did not have the slightest bit of interest. He did not want to enforce the law, or rather, he chose to ignore the sin. An inexplicable power caused the evil demon to smile. He gently stroked the head of one of the immortals and monsters and walked forward. Jiang Chongkong suddenly felt a chill in his heart. To be able to affect him so quickly, there was most likely an immortal king here. Moreover, it was not an ordinary immortal king. Although he thought of an immortal king, for some reason, he let go of his guard. An inexplicable certainty rose in his heart. There would be no killing here, and no living beings would attack him. Jiang Chongkong walked towards the mid-stage immortal lord. Fellow Taoist, I have just come to the Holy Land. I wonder if you can introduce me? The Holy Land is the Holy Land. There will be no worries here. The evil demon smiled sincerely and warmly. The immortal flower valley is up ahead. You can admire the flowers there. There are great Tao inscriptions in the palace, and you can comprehend the great Tao there. Thank you. Jiang Chongkong cupped his hands. There's no need to stand on ceremony. Fellow Taoist, please go ahead. I still have to help them bathe, so I'll take my leave first. The evil devil cupped his hands. Jiang Changkong quickly walked forward and first went to the immortal flower valley that the evil spirit mentioned. All kinds of immortal flowers were blooming inside, and immortal qi was abundant. Thumb-sized flower fairies were dancing among the flowers. Jiang Changkong sat there and watched them dance. He didn't know why, but these flower fairies seemed to have a magical power that made him reluctant to leave. His essence, energy, and spirit were released on time. It was only when the flower spirit dissipated that Jiang Changkong woke up from his daze. The flower fairies entered the flowers and lay down to rest. They were a little tired from the dance just now. Looking at the increase in his essence, qi, and spirit, he realized that it had already been 24 hours. Jiang Changkong walked away. This time, he planned to go to the palace to take a look. The special power was constantly affecting him, but he couldn't resist it at all. Walking in the Holy Land, stepping on the soft grass, the worries in his heart had already been forgotten. The heavenly court, the eastern sea, the pursuit of an immortal king, the sense of urgency and pressure in his heart all dissipated. It was as if these things were not worth worrying about. In his heart, he felt that it was better to let nature take its course. Let nature take its course. If there was progress, then so be it. If there wasn't, then so be it. No strife, no anger, no pressure. Jiang Changkong felt that he had become a saint. He didn't want to fight for anything and didn't care about any troubles. Arriving in front of the palace, Jiang Changkong saw many immortals walking around. There were also some immortals descending from above. All sorts of immortal scriptures were engraved on the walls of the palace. However, they were only of the martial immortal to heavenly immortal level. Jiang Changkong's eyes narrowed. He saw the golden crow immortal scripture and the ancestral dragon scripture, even though they were incomplete. There was also the prime, clear Taoist scripture, the grand pure Taoist scripture, the primordial suppressing Taoist scripture, and other peak-level immortal scriptures. However, these top-notch immortal scriptures were all incomplete. Jiang Changkong stepped onto the stairs and headed to the second floor. There were fewer immortals on the second level. There were many immortals studying here. There were also some celestial immortals walking around, but their movements were very light for fear of disturbing their enlightenment. An inexplicable power made him also careful. He felt that he couldn't disturb their enlightenment. With light footsteps, he stepped onto the third step. The third floor was for immortal lords and some nomological enlightenment. There were more than 10 immortal lords here. Jiang Changkong still didn't stop and continued to climb to the fourth floor. The fourth floor was for immortal king-level immortal scriptures and various nomological enlightenment. 3 immortal kings sat cross-legged, facing the wall and comprehending. Jiang Changkong fell silent. 3 immortal kings? Was this place set up by 3 immortal kings? It shouldn't be. If it was set up by them, how could there be so many immortal kings comprehending? Moreover, from the looks of it, they were also comprehending the immortal scriptures above. Jiang Changkong walked to the 5th floor. There were immortal emperors here, so there were no people comprehending here. The enlightenment above was a little blurry, but the immortal scriptures were very clear, just that they were still incomplete. I'm not strong enough to pry into the immortal emperor's enlightenment. A young man appeared with a smile on his face. It turns out to be a great immortal. Jiang Changkong cupped his hands and said, "This person was one of the 3 immortal kings below. In the Holy Land, all living beings are equal. There are no great immortals. My name is Lu Qingxian." The young immortal king smiled. Jiang Changkong. Jiang Changkong unconsciously revealed his real name. Lu Qingxian didn't seem to know him and walked up. "You just came to the Holy Land. Do you want to go up and have a look?" "I'll go with you. I just want to see it." Jiang Changkong thought for a moment and followed him up. The two walked side by side, and Lu Qingxian began to explain some cultivation knowledge to him. To cultivate, one must understand the will of heaven, respect the way of heaven, let nature take its course, and obtain the great way. Lu Qingxian said, as the two reached the 6th floor. Immortal Venerable Level Immortal Scriptures. The immortal venerable level enlightenment was blurry. Jiang Chongkong was silent. The two continued to go up. On the 7th floor, there was no immortal scripture on the wall, only a gray chaos. What's this? Jiang Chongkong was curious. This is the mixed essence. Lu Qingxian smiled and said, if you understand this, you will be a mixed essence saint. Mixed essence. If this was true, the celestial emperor of the heavenly court would probably go crazy. What's above? Jiang Chongkong asked. He had reached the mixed essence realm, but he had not reached the top of the temple, and there was still space above. There is another kind of power above. Let's go up and have a look. Lu Qingxian said. Will there be danger? There will be no danger in the Holy Land. Lu Qingxian was very firm and took the lead to step up. Jiang Chongkong followed him and set foot on the 8th floor. Buzz. As soon as he stepped into the 8th floor, Jiang Chongkong's body shook, and the blue light in his body seemed to be stimulated and surged out. The inexplicable power that entered his body was dispelled by the blue light, and all kinds of emotions emerge again. Chongkong, what's wrong with you? Lu Qingxian asked with concern. Jiang Chongkong closed his eyes, and the blue light in his body swam quickly. Immortal title, immortal book, tomes of the heavens, shivered in his body and hid in the corner. He opened his eyes, and 2 blue lights jumped in his eyes like flames. On the 8th floor, there was a rich blue light on the wall, endless blue light. These blue lights were like living things swimming on the wall, but did not leave the wall. Chapter 586. Chongkong, are you okay? Lu Qingxuan's voice sounded again, looking at him with concern. Jiang Chongkong shook his head slightly. I'm fine. This green light was exactly the same as the green light in his body. If not for the azure light here stimulating him, he would probably still be immersed in the Holy Land. However, why would the green light appear in the Holy Land? The realm above primordial chaos was the blue light in his body. Various thoughts emerged in Jiang Chongkong's mind as the heavenly book materialized. The information displayed above was Lu Qingxian, a disciple of Zhenyuan's celestial sect, the peak of the immortal king. He has spent his life killing demons and has done great service to the heavens. The peak of the immortal king stage? Jiang Chongkong was a little dumbfounded. This person was actually at the peak of the celestial king stage? This was an existence on par with heavenly King Ziwei, yet he was only a disciple of the Zhenyuan celestial sect? Chongkong, what's wrong with you? Lu Qingxian asked doubtfully. He did not understand why Jiang Chongkong was looking at him like this. Jiang Chongkong frowned and asked, Are you a disciple of the Zhenyuan immortal sect? Peak stage immortal king? Yes, what's the problem? The Holy Land is equal. If you work harder, you will also become an immortal king. Lu Qingxian encouraged. Jiang Chongkong opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. Not even celestial kings could resist the power of the Holy Land. What exactly was hidden in the Holy Land? Looking at the stairs, there was still space above. Above is the top floor, where you can see the whole Holy Land. Lu Qingxian said. Jiang Chongkong walked up to the 9th floor. It was completely empty. There was nothing there at all. There were windows in the surrounding walls, and one could see the scenery of the Holy Land. Look, that's the Immortal Flower Valley. Lu Qingxian said, pointing in the direction of the Immortal Flower Valley. Jiang Chongkong looked over and felt a chill down his spine. What immortal flowers, flower spirits, they were all gone. There was only a bunch of demonic tree vines sucking the blood of the immortal flowers. Those living beings had intoxicated looks on their faces, completely unaware of it. The vines didn't suck them to death. Instead, they released them when they couldn't take it anymore. These creatures suddenly woke up. They began to leave, not feeling like there was anything wrong with them. Jiang Chongkong sensed the power in his body. It did not decrease, so it should not have been absorbed before. Over there is the immortal stone mountain. Lu Qingxian pointed in another direction. Jiang Chongkong's face paled. What immortal stone mountain! It was full of skulls and broken limbs. Those palaces are the Dao Sound Palace, the Dao Law Palace, and the Heavenly Palace. Lu Qingxian said. Heavenly Palace? What's that? Jiang Chongkong asked. The heavenly palace leads to an even larger holy land. Rumor has it that there's an even more complete holy land above the holy land. That is a real world. Only those who have lived in the holy land for thousands of years can go there. Lu Qingxian said, "Why do you want to stay here for 1,000 years?" Jiang Changkong asked. "Not sure." Lu Qingxian shook his head and continued, "However, I soon found out because I have been in the Holy Land for 900 years. 900 years. He was only 100 years away from going to the real Holy Land." Jiang Changkong looked at the rest of the place. The grass that he had stepped on before had all been replaced by vines. Those immortal herbs and flowers were also these things. This was not the Holy Land at all, but a place of death. Jiang Changkong's expression was cold. The only real place should be this palace. Dao Sound Palace, Dao La Palace, have you been there? Jiang Changkong asked. Dao Sound Palace. You can listen to the sound of the great Dao, just like a powerful person preaching. Dao La Palace is filled with endless Dao law divine powers, teaching you how to use the immortal power and laws in your body. Lu Qingxian said, "Then why don't you use the Dao Sound Palace to step into the immortal emperor realm?" Jiang Changkong asked. Lu Qingxian shook his head. "No, the immortal emperor realm requires a strong foundation or acquired to return to the innate realm. Otherwise, you can't become an immortal emperor." Innate? Jiang Changkong raised his eyebrows. Yes, the immortal emperor realm is a transformation from the acquired to the innate realm. Without a foundation that is 4 times stronger than the same level, you can't support the transformation. Another thing is to first transform the innate divine body and innate divine soul, successfully reverse the origin, and step into the immortal emperor realm. Lu Qingxian explained. Afraid that he did not understand, he added, "You can think of it as innate gods." Jiang Changkong did not expect that there was such a requirement to step into the immortal emperor realm. No wonder many peak immortal kings could not become immortal emperors even after thousands or even tens of thousands of years. The innate divine body trapped them. As for the foundation that is 4 times stronger than the same level, as far as Jiang Changkong knew, only heaven's equal could reach this level. Looking at the Holy Land again, Jiang Changkong asked, "What will happen if I kill someone in the Holy Land?" "There will be no killing in the Holy Land." Lu Qingxian smiled. "Now there is." Jiang Changkong's body was surrounded by green light, and he directly jumped down from the 9th floor. Now that he knew the true nature of the Pure Land, he would not endure it anymore. First, he would enforce the law and step into the Deshang realm. That's right, this time he planned to upgrade the chaotic Dao body first. This Holy Land was really strange. It would be safer to upgrade the chaotic Dao body first. He also wanted to see if there were any secrets in the 8th floor after the upgrade of the chaotic Dao body. Boom! Jiang Changkong's feet stepped on the ground, and his divine power spread out, turning the blood-sucking vines into ashes. And those creatures, after glancing at him, did not pay attention to him, and went about their own business. Jiang Changkong moved his body, operated the heavenly book, and found a celestial lord, evil demon. Under the light of the chaotic heavenly eye, the celestial lord, evil demon, turned into ashes. The creatures in the Holy Land just glanced at him, and then no longer paid attention to him. Lu Qingxian appeared beside him in an instant, and put one hand on his shoulder. "Don't kill in the Holy Land." Jiang Changkong held the heavenly book of justice, and the green light in his body flowed into Lu Qingxuan's body. "If you accept my green light into your body, I will not kill." Okay. Lu Qingxian let the green light enter his body, without the slightest resistance. The next moment, the invisible force was dispelled by the green light. Lu Qingxuan's body shook violently, and a monstrous divine power rose. "Demon, how dare you plot against me?" When the celestial king was angry, the Holy Land shook. The endless blood-sucking vines turned into ashes. A green light rose from his body and turned into countless branches. "Can you restrain some of your strength?" Jiang Changkong was sent tumbling by the force of the attack. Lu Qingxuan's expression was slightly stiff. "I'm sorry, I was too angry, and I haven't asked my brother's master for help." Heavenly God of Justice, Jiang Changkong. Jiang Changkong stood up. I have a friendship with Lu Xianfeng of Jinyuan Celestial Sect. So you are Heavenly God of Justice, a good friend of Brother Xianfeng. Lu Qingxian cupped his hands and said, let's find the demon first and destroy this place. Can you let me do it? I can obtain the power of heaven by enforcing the law, Jiang Changkong said. Jinyuan Celestial Sect did not care about the power of heaven. That was why he said so. If it was another celestial king, he would only say that it was up to his own ability to snatch as many as he could. I'm still impulsive. Come with me first to rescue the other two celestial kings. Lu Qingxian suggested and said, it's not a problem to leave the law enforcement to you. Okay. Jiang Changkong nodded. If there was a demon hidden in the dark who could influence the celestial king and win over the remaining two celestial kings, he would have two more helpers to fight against the enemy. Chapter 587. The Holy Land stopped shaking, and the living beings were still the same as before. The immortals in the temple also didn't seem to know anything. Jiang Changkong and Lu Qingxian entered the fourth floor, and the two immortal kings were still meditating. Why don't you suppress them first? Jiang Changkong said. If these two immortal kings exploded, he might not be able to withstand it. They have been meditating here for hundreds of years with me, and their cultivation levels are not lower than mine. Lu Xianfeng shook his head. You go ahead and save one first. I will protect you. Jiang Changkong nodded. There were two immortal kings, one male and one female. The female immortal king was dressed in a white dress. Her aura was ethereal and deep, and her long hair reached her waist. The other immortal king had sword-like eyebrows, and a sharp aura exuded from his body. Jiang Changkong chose the female immortal king first, and the azure light poured into his body. The female immortal king didn't resist and let the azure light cleanse the invisible power in her body. An ethereal aura emanated from the female immortal king's body. Lu Xianfeng quickly took action and pointed at the female immortal king's forehead. Calm down. We have all fallen into the demon's trap. Think carefully. A trace of confusion flashed across the female immortal king's face. Then, the ethereal aura retracted, and there was a trace of coldness on her face. What are you guys doing? The other immortal king asked curiously. They're studying a power, and said it is very strange. Do you want to study it together? Jiang Changkong asked. What power? The immortal king asked curiously. Jiang Changkong's palm emerged with azure light and entered the immortal king's body. Feel it carefully. Boom! A shocking sword intent emanated from the immortal king's body. His entire body was like a divine sword. The entire fourth floor of the palace was shaking. Lu Qingxian and the other two immortal kings quickly took action to stabilize his power. Senior brother, calm down. The female immortal king said. Senior brother? Lu Qingxian was slightly taken aback. Jiang Changkong took out the Heavenly Book of Justice. Penglai Immortal Trail, Cloud Sky, Cloud Mortal, Peak Immortal King. You know us. The two immortal kings calmed down and looked at Jiang Changkong. The Heavenly God of Justice. That's the information from the Heavenly Book of Justice, Jiang Changkong said. So, it's someone from the Heavenly Court. Let me make this clear. I have nothing to do with the Heavenly Court. I'm only enforcing the law on behalf of the heavens, Jiang Changkong said. Oh, you're the Heavenly God of Justice, but you're not related to the Heavenly Court? I'm being hunted by the Heavenly Court, Jiang Changkong said helplessly, then explained everything. Ever since I joined the Heavenly Court, he was not worried that these three would capture him and take him to the Heavenly Court in exchange for merits. These two great immortal sects were not interested in the Heavenly Court. Furthermore, he was friends with Lu Xianfeng. Lu Xianfeng had saved them this time, so he owed him a favor. If they dared to make a move, he would dare to withdraw the green light and let them continue to stay here. The Heavenly Court is truly disappointing. Female Immortal Ji Yunxiao said in disdain. Si Yunfan flatly replied, The Penglai sect owes us no favors since the Heavenly God has helped us. We would do two things for the Heavenly God, even if it means slaying the immortal king of the Celestial Court. Thank you, both of you. Still, I'll do the immortal king myself, so I'll keep the favor for now," Jiang Changkong said, pausing for a moment before turning to Lu Qingxian. "Our priority now is to break this place and leave this so-called holy ground." "That's right. Both of you. Let's do it together. We'll leave the law enforcement to the heavenly God," Lu Qingxian said. "All right. We only seek the Tao and have no need for heavenly powers." The two from the Penglai sect nodded in agreement. "The heavenly God is behind us." Si Yunfan led the way down to the third level, where the divine might of the immortal king unfurled, subjugating every immortal monarch there. Jiang Changkong activated the heavenly scroll of justice. 5 were sentenced to death. 1 was demoted to an immortal, while the rest were merely minor offenses that had to be sent to prison. He could not handle such matters, and so had to let them go for now. That alone was enough for him to improve. "Many thanks. I need to seclude myself for a while to digest the heavenly powers," Jiang Changkong said. "All right, we'll bring all the beings of the holy ground here and wait for you." The 3 immortal kings left, bringing the rest of the immortal monarchs with them. Jiang Changkong took a look at his essence, qi, and spirit, and improved his Tao form of chaos. Kaboom! The holy temple suddenly shook. Streaks of green light shot out from the 8th level and directly entered his body. Inside his Tao form of chaos, green light burst out. Frightening power surged within his body, and the laws of chaos trembled in excitement. As his Tao form improved, the green light entered his body from outside. Jiang Changkong noticed that the green light was changing, forming veins of mysterious patterns. It was just like the Tao patterns back in the mortal realm. The laws of chaos were also releasing strands of aura into the patterns. It was a pity that his ability was still weak, and those Tao patterns were only a tiny bit formed and not complete. That tiny bit of Tao pattern was a unique divine pattern, emanating a unique Tao will. Jiang Changkong felt that his body had gained a hint of a unique aura. It was a very mysterious and profound aura, and he did not know what it was. Half a day later, the transformation stopped, and Jiang Changkong opened his eyes. Jiang Changkong, Pinnacle Immortal Monarch, God Monarch. 5th Revolution Mystic Art. Initial success, 1/900,000. Acquired Chaotic Tao Form. Desheng, 1/2, 7 million. Golden Crow Immortal Sutra. Consummate, 10122500/101250. Essence, Qi, and Spirit, 308,240. If there were more sinners left, his mystic art might also improve. The Holy Land could not eliminate sins. Feeling the mysterious aura in his body, Jiang Changkong looked at the 8th level and turned into light. The green light on the 8th level did not change again, as if nothing had happened. Jiang Changkong could not see anything strange, so he could only leave. When he returned to the 1st level, the 3 immortal kings had already brought everyone. Lu Qingxian said, "Heaven God, all the living beings in the Holy Land, except for those from the Heavenly Palace, are here. Is there anything unusual about the Heavenly Palace?" Jiang Changkong asked. Si Yunfan said solemnly, "The influence of the Heavenly Palace is even stronger. The green light that the Heaven God left in our bodies almost dissipated, so we could only retreat." Jiang Changkong nodded and did not say anything more. He opened the heavenly eye between his eyebrows and began to enforce the law. The power of heaven quickly entered his account, and the immortals, evil demons, and celestial immortals and demons were all disappearing. Some of their cultivation levels were also decreasing, and some were not affected. They either did not have a big sin, or they did not do anything wrong. The power of heaven, 530,000. He was still a little short of a breakthrough in his mystic art. Jiang Changkong was a little disappointed, but he quickly adjusted his mentality. "Did you find anything?" "No. There's no problem with the Tao Sound Palace and the Tao Techniques Palace. The problem should be in the Heavenly Palace," Si Yunfan said. Jiang Changkong pondered and said, "I will strengthen the green light for you, and we will go to the Heavenly Palace together." The expressions of the three immortal kings became slightly solemn. They let go of their defense and let him strengthen the green light. The green light gushed out, condensed into Tao patterns, and entered the bodies of the three. The unique aura made the expressions of the three change at the same time. Connate divine pattern? Connate divine pattern. Jiang Changkong raises eyebrows. What does that mean? Connate divine pattern. When the connate gods cultivate their divine body to a certain level, they will have connate divine patterns. In the divine pattern, you just already had a trace of connate aura. Lu Qingxian explained, according to what you said, your strength should only be at the immortal lord level, but you can actually have connate divine patterns. There is another saying that connate divine patterns are the essence of the laws and the source of connate gods. Ji Yunxiao continued, every connate god, when they cultivate to a certain level, will have connate divine patterns. Even celestial emperors have them. Jiang Changkong asked. That depends on the celestial emperor. Those who have undergone metamorphosis may not have connate divine patterns, because they can only be regarded as ordinary connate divine bodies, and connate gods are born from heaven and earth, and themselves are the products of the laws. Cian Fan said. Chapter 588. The innate divine inscription could generally only be practiced by innate gods. It represented the essence of the law. It was somewhat similar to the Tao patterns cultivated in the mortal world, but these divine inscriptions were stronger. His Tao patterns carry the star Great Tao, and these divine inscriptions were regarded as the essence of the Great Tao, one surface and one internal origin. After understanding, Jiang Changkong no longer asked and focused on the current problem. Let's go to the Palace of Heaven. The three immortal kings followed him to the Palace of Heaven. With the innate divine inscription, they were not afraid of the influence of the Palace of Heaven at all this time. Stepping into the Palace of Heaven, the invisible force surged again. The divine inscription in Jiang Changkong's body vibrated, releasing a trace of aura to dispel this force. Inside the Palace of Heaven, there were still 9 floors. However, these 9 floors were not easy to walk on. The stairs had all turned into long swords, divine swords with the aura of the law. If they wanted to go up, they had to climb up. There was no second possibility. Jiang Changkong mobilized his divine power, but found that the divine power in his body was imprisoned by an inexplicable force. Only the blue light was not affected, but it could not allow him to fly up. What about you? Jiang Changkong looked at the 3 immortal kings. Our strength is imprisoned. It should be another immortal formation, the 3 immortal kings said solemnly. Lu Qingxian continued, rumor has it that the Palace of Heaven is a bigger holy land. If you want to go up, you can only climb up. Jiang Changkong pondered for a moment and retreated. As soon as he left the Palace of Heaven, the divine power in his body was restored. There are no exits in other places. We have searched them all. Ji Yunxiao guessed. Our guess is that the bigger sacred land should be the immortal world outside. Lu Qingxian seemed to know what he was thinking and said, this place can't be destroyed. We have seen it from a distance. It is sealed up. We can't see the inside. Jiang Changkong stepped into the Palace of Heaven and looked up. A straight line led to the 9th floor. I can stand it. Can your immortal bodies hold up? Jiang Changkong asked. No problem. The 3 said confidently. Then let's go up and see what kind of monster it is. Jiang Changkong held the divine sword and climbed up. The divine sword was very sharp, equivalent to the peak of a mortal lord. Hiss! Jiang Changkong looked down and saw that it was the 3 celestial kings. Are your immortal bodies so fragile? Even a sword at the pinnacle of the heavenly high immortal realm can break through your defenses? The bodies of these 3 celestial kings were too fragile, which surprised him. Heavenly high immortal? Heavenly deity. This is clearly the peak of the immortal king stage. Ji Yunxiao frowned. The divine sword had already pierced into his skin. The peak of the immortal king stage? Jiang Changkong's facial expression changed slightly as he looked at the creature that was climbing in front of him. It was an intermediate divine immortal. The divine sword that he had come into contact with was only a medium 4th grade divine sword. This was based on one's own strength. Wait a minute. Jiang Changkong loosened his grip and fell down. The other three immortal kings hurriedly jumped down when they saw this. God of heaven, what's wrong? Lu Qingxian asked. Answer my question first. Are there any sages left in the immortal world? Jiang Changkong looked solemn. His cultivation was concealed by the means left behind by the heavenly emperor. Even the current heavens could not detect it. But here, it was actually revealed according to his true realm. Didn't that mean that the person who laid down the Holy Land was no weaker than the heavenly emperor? Sage? Impossible. There is absolutely no sage in the immortal world. Otherwise, it would have been unified long ago, the three of them said with certainty. Jiang Changkong frowned and pondered. Maybe I'm thinking too much. I'll take you up and see if we can succeed. The three of them looked at each other. We can try. Jiang Changkong first carried Lu Qingxian on his back and pressed his hands on the divine sword. He breathed a sigh of relief. No problem. It should be based on the cultivation of the person who comes into contact with the divine sword. You two, wait for a while. I'll take him up first. Heavenly deity, be careful, the two celestial kings warned. Jiang Changkong nodded and quickly climbed up. Jiang Changkong did not care about the divine sword at the pinnacle of the heavenly high immortal realm, although it was tingling. But the acquired chaotic Tao body was powerful. Coupled with the formation of the innate divine inscriptions, it was impossible to break the defense. Jiang Changkong climbed almost in leaps and bounds, and soon reached the second floor. There were many living beings resting on the second floor. Lu Qingxian glanced at the second floor. Heavenly deity, there are patterns and words on the wall. Jiang Changkong took him into the second floor and looked at the words and patterns. This is a kind of innate immortal text used in the ancient heavenly court period. Now, only some major forces have inherited it. Lu Qingxian looked at the immortal text and said, Emperor Hao Tian summoned the immortals and gathered the power of all races to create this sacred land. Emperor Hao Tian? How many things did the ancient heavenly court do? Research and experimental grounds. Was this sacred land also created by them? No wonder Emperor Hao Tian's means had no effect here. On the murals, it was the scene of them creating the sacred land. I'll go down and bring them up first. Jiang Changkong jumped down directly and brought up the two Penglai, celestial kings. Emperor Hao Tian gathered the power of the immortal world to create the sacred land. Not to mention them, even celestial emperors and celestial supremes would probably be trapped inside. After the three celestial kings finished reading, they said, More information should be above. This is just the beginning. Jiang Changkong led them and climbed again. This time, in addition to the divine sword, there were also flames burning. The terrifying divine fire was enough to seriously injure those of the same level. Jiang Changkong also felt uncomfortable. Fortunately, there was no problem with his back, and the three celestial kings could withstand it. The third floor was still information about creating the sacred land, which was of little value. They continued to climb, divine fire, boiling oil, and all kinds of hardships. Jiang Changkong continued to climb up with them. His body was already covered with cuts and bruises, and gray blood dyed the divine sword gray. Until the seventh floor, Jiang Changkong's bones were exposed. For the first time, he regretted upgrading the Golden Crow immortal scripture and pulling up the realm. Is this considered a friendship of going through mountains of knives, seas of fire, and pots of oil? Jiang Changkong lay on the seventh floor, panting violently. I suddenly remembered something. Ji Yunxiao suddenly said, We don't know when our spatial equipment and resources disappeared. The two celestial kings were stunned. We were so focused on finding the exit that we forgot about this. Mine is still there, and I don't know about yours. Jiang Changkong shook his head and said, But I can't use my power, and I can't take out the elixirs. We were careless. The heavenly God is resting, and we are not in a hurry. 900 years have passed, Lu Qingxian said. The two celestial kings also said with concern, We are not in a hurry. If anything happens to the heavenly God, we will feel guilty for the rest of our lives. Let's look at the information here first. I don't know what the final construction of the sacred land will be like when we reach the 7th floor, Jiang Changkong said with a smile. Lu Qingxian looked at the murals with a solemn expression. The city is built in the sacred land, peaceful, and the purification power of the heavenly law is added. Here, you will enjoy eternal happiness, carefree, and don't have to worry about anything. Fairy Flower Valley, Cultivation Divine Hall, Dao Sound Hall, Dao Law Hall, and Heavenly Law Hall were set up. Heavenly Law Hall? Where is the Heavenly Law Hall? Jiang Changkong's face darkened. Come to think of it, this is the so-called Heavenly Law Hall, which leads to a larger sacred land. Lu Qingxian said coldly and continued to read. The Heavenly Law does not care here, carefree and without fault. The Heavenly Law Hall leads to the celestial world where the Heavenly Law is. Obviously, something has changed here, or it has been modified by someone. Chapter 589. The Hao Tian Emperor and the ancient gods created the real sacred land. Now, the so-called sacred land had become an evil place. It only had the power of the original sacred land, which could make people carefree. But it had been modified to absorb the power of living beings unknowingly. This should be the answer we want up there. Jiang Changkong carried them on his back and climbed up again. The higher they went, the stronger the power of the divine sword, and the more serious Jiang Changkong's injuries were. Fortunately, the acquired chaotic Taoist body could still hold on. They climbed up to the 8th floor, where there were still many murals and primordial immortal text. Jiang Changkong went back and brought the two up to check together. These murals and immortal text were not erased. Lu Qingxian looked serious. The Hao Tian Emperor, an ancient god, created this place using the heavenly way. Heavenly way? No wonder it can affect us. Ji Yinshao also looked at the immortal text. We can't resist the power of the heavenly way. Now this power is still here. The power of the heavenly way here has not dissipated. Si Yinfan said solemnly. Jiang Changkong frowned. But the heavenly way has not fully recovered. The sacred land should have lost its power at that time. Could it be that the heavenly way of the heavenly court has recovered and affected this place? The heavenly way did not manage this place. This is indeed the real sacred land and does not need to be managed by the heavenly way. But the heavenly way still uses its own power to affect this place. Lu Qingxian continued to look and suddenly narrowed his eyes. No, there's a sky fragment hidden here. Sky fragment. Jiang Changkong and the two Penglai immortal kings looked over together. In the murals, the Hao Tian Emperor buried a piece of sky under the Temple of Heaven. The existence of the sky fragment affects this place all the time. Even if the heavenly way has collapsed and has not recovered, it can still affect it. Lu Qingxian said in a deep voice. Jiang Changkong's expression changed slightly. The heavenly way is so powerful, it can still affect it without recovering? Of course, the immortal palaces in the heavenly court were not built by the Sky Emperor and the others. Even if the sky has fallen asleep, the power that it unconsciously dissipates is still terrifying. Si Yinfan said. Jiang Changkong was shocked. Thinking about it, it made sense. The sky had never truly disappeared. This makes sense. With the influence of the power of the way of heaven, the person who transformed here could not erase this information. Lu Qingxian said. Jiang Changkong pondered. You can transform this place, but you can't erase the murals? The person who was transformed should have adapted to the transformation of this place and understood the heavens. But these palaces were basically built by the Hao Tian Emperor and the ancient immortals. Ji Yinshao analyzed. Jiang Changkong understood. The modified humans could only comply with the heavens' modifications, but they could not destroy the heavenly emperor and the others' methods. Unless the power of the heavens was willing, or the other party's strength surpassed that of the heavenly emperor and the others. Those plants outside, the means left behind by the immortal gods, should not be strong, which was why they changed. As for the heavenly Tao palace, because it had the power of the heavenly Tao, the other party understood the heavens and was able to transform it. There is actually someone who is so familiar with the power of heaven. What a surprise. After reading all the information, Jiang Chankong's expression turned solemn. The heavenly Tao had long since slumbered and had only awakened recently. As for them, they had been here for 900 years. This place had been transformed a long time ago. Let's go to the 9th floor. Jiang Chankong stood up and once again led Lu Qingxian to climb the 9th floor. The 9th floor was a large platform. The light outside was dazzling, and the sun was high in the sky. The immortal realm. Jiang Chankong hurriedly sped up and reached the 9th floor. Buzz! The blazing sun suddenly shook, turned into a divine light, and slashed down. Is there another person who can't wait to become an elixir of life? A cold voice sounded, and the dazzling light shrank. The light dimmed, and a huge space appeared. The divine light that slashed down dissipated as soon as it touched the climbing divine sword. Don't worry, when they come up, they will naturally jump into the alchemy furnace by themselves. An old voice sounded. Bang! Jiang Chankong took Lu Qingxian and fell into the 9th floor. It was not the immortal realm at all. In the blazing sun, a figure was hidden. 10 immortals, dressed in golden armor and holding long spears, stared at them coldly. An old man, sitting cross-legged in front of the alchemy furnace, shook his fan and raised the furnace fire. Your sacred land is there. Go quickly. An immortal in golden armor pointed to the alchemy furnace. He actually carried one up. The transformation of this sacred land is really powerful, so selfless. An immortal sighed. Are you guys done? A cold voice sounded. Lu Qingxian slowly got up. The green light shone, and countless branches spread out. A group of evil creatures. How dare you plot against me? You hold on. I will go down and bring them up. Jiang Chankong directly held the divine sword, ignored the pain, and quickly climbed down. You're not affected? The peak of the immortal king. The 10 immortals' faces changed dramatically, and the old man sitting cross-legged also stood up, looking at Lu Qingxian in shock. Rumble. The blazing sun hanging high in the sky vibrated, and the figure hidden in it trembled violently. You evil creatures, you can wait for death. He was shocked and angry, looked at the alchemy furnace, and directly whipped out a branch. Lu Qingxian had not lost his mind. These people must be guilty, and he wanted to leave them for Jiang Chankong. Boom! A violent force vibrated, and the old man shook off the branch with a sword light, his whole body exuding a terrifying aura. The peak of the immortal king? Lu Qingxuan's face changed slightly. He did not see that this old man was actually also a peak immortal king. I thought that this time I could easily get another immortal king golden pill. I didn't expect that I would have to do it myself. A trace of coldness appeared on the old man's face. His killing intent swept across, and the immortal king's law suppressed the void. Rumble. The blazing sun hanging high in the sky vibrated, and the figure became clearer and clearer. Rays of dazzling light shone in all directions. Lu Qingxuan's face froze. The aura of the figure in the sun was no weaker than his. 2 peak immortal kings. The 10 immortals retreated. The battle of the peak immortal king was not something they could participate in. Rumble. The law clashed, the green light, the golden sword light. The 2 forces surged in the space of the 9th floor. Climbing the passage, there was an invisible influence of the heavenly law. No matter how powerful they were, the aftermath dissipated as soon as it touched the sky. Lu Qingxuan's body changed. There were countless roots. The trunk reached the sky, and the willow branches hung down, smashing the sword light. It turns out to be a willow tree immortal king. Not bad. It's just right for refining. The old man sneered. The killing intent on his face became more and more intense, and the divine sword in his hand bloomed with the power of the immortal king path. The divine sword broke through the sky. The sword light covered the sky like an endless sword river. The willow tree swayed. The branches tore the void, and the leaves were like sleeves, trembling, containing great power. The sword river that blotted out the sky and covered the earth instantly dissipated into the leaves. Sleeve universe technique? The old man's face instantly changed. Good eyesight. I'll return it to you." With a sneer, the branches shook, and the overwhelming sword river appeared again. But this time the target was the old man. "Come out. This is a disciple of the Zhen Yuan celestial sect, a bit difficult to deal with." The old man looked gloomy and shouted, "Buzz!" Inside the blazing sun, the figure that was gradually becoming clearer stepped out at this moment, with a head of fiery red hair and a fiery red robe.